This is why we're here, right? Kendra, with her bright blue hair, leaned across the table, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. To learn about this Deathworld. Yes, Kendra, Professor Jarl replied, his tentacled brow furrowed in what Kendra had learned was a sign of exasperation. Earth is classified as a deathworld, meaning it poses an extreme danger to life forms not adapted to its environment. But why? Why is it so dangerous? It looks so pretty. Kendra gestured towards the panoramic view outside the classroom window, where a swirling green, blue, and brown sphere filled the screen. It's all oceans and clouds and mountains. It looks peaceful. Jarl sighed, a low, rumbling sound that echoed through the classroom. Pretty is a dangerous word, Kendra. Earth is a planet of volatile weather patterns, tectonic instability, and a highly reactive atmosphere. It's a planet where life itself has evolved to be aggressive, competitive, and often brutal. He tapped the screen, and the view zoomed in on a swirling mass of clouds. The weather on Earth is unpredictable and violent. Tornadoes, hurricanes, and even earthquakes are commonplace. These events can cause catastrophic damage, not just to structures but to life itself. I see, Kendra mumbled, her excitement slowly fading. But is it all bad? It is not all bad, Jarl admitted, his tentacles relaxing slightly. Earth also holds an incredible diversity of life, much of it incredibly beautiful. But its very beauty is a sign of its dangers. He gestured to another view, this time focused on a vast expanse of green jungle. Look at this, Kendra. This is the Amazon rainforest, a paradise of life, yet also a breeding ground for deadly creatures and diseases. Earth's flora and fauna are often a dangerous mix of beauty and lethality. Kendra shivered, the image of the jungle sending chills down her spine. She had never thought of a planet as beautiful as Earth being so deadly. But, she thought, what was the point of studying a deathworld? Was it just a morbid curiosity? As if reading her mind, Professor Jarl continued, we study Earth not just for its dangers, but for its potential. It's a planet of extremes, yes, but it is also a planet of extraordinary resilience and adaptation. Earth has seen 5 major extinction events, yet life has persisted, even thrived, in the face of these challenges. The resilience of life on Earth is something we, as a species, can learn from. We can learn from a deathworld? Kendra asked, her brow furrowed. How? By understanding how life on Earth has adapted to these challenges, we can better understand how to survive and thrive in our own, increasingly volatile galaxy, Jarl explained. We study its history, its biology, its geology, all of it, to understand how it has become what it is today, and, perhaps, to learn how to adapt ourselves to similar environments in the future. Kendra stared at the image of Earth on the screen, the green and blue swirling in a breathtaking display of chaos and beauty. She had always been fascinated by Earth, its stories and legends, its art and music. Now, she realized, it was a planet far more complex, far more dangerous, and far more fascinating than she had ever imagined. It was a death world, but it was also a world of endless possibility. And, she realized, she was about to embark on a journey to learn all its secrets. Earth is a constant dance of creation and destruction, Professor Jarl continued, his voice resonating through the lecture hall. Its very atmosphere, while breathable to your species, is a volatile cocktail of gases. Powerful storms erupt with terrifying frequency, unleashing winds that can rip through entire cities, and the oceans, though seemingly placid, churn with currents that can swallow ships whole. Kendra felt a chill crawl down her spine. The images he projected on the holoscreen were vivid, showcasing churning thunderstorms, towering waves, and volcanic eruptions spewing ash into the sky. It was a stark contrast to the idyllic Earth she had envisioned. But it gets worse, Jarl continued, a hint of amusement in his voice. Earth harbors a plethora of life forms that are both fascinating and terrifying. The creatures you call animals have evolved to survive in the planet's harsh conditions, often with brutal efficiency. Imagine a creature that can survive in the deepest, darkest depths of the ocean, where pressures would crush a human being instantly. Or consider the creatures that inhabit the scorching deserts, able to withstand temperatures that would melt metal. Kendra's stomach lurched. She had always loved animals, but the idea of creatures that could kill with ease made her apprehensive. She glanced at her classmates, their expressions a mix of fascination and fear. But the greatest threat, Professor Jarl said, his voice turning serious, is the very life form that dominates Earth. Humans. They are a species capable of extraordinary feats of intelligence and creativity, but they are also driven by primal instincts that can lead to unimaginable destruction. He projected an image of a battlefield, ravaged and scarred by war. The air hung heavy with the stench of smoke and death. Kendra felt a wave of nausea rise in her throat. Humans are a species of contradictions, Jarl continued. They are capable of great acts of kindness and compassion, but they are also prone to violence and greed. They have a complex relationship with their own planet, often exploiting it for their own gain, with devastating consequences. He paused, allowing the image to sink in. Kendra found herself staring at the desolate landscape, imagining the lives that had been lost, the dreams that had been shattered. The earth is a harsh mistress, Jarl concluded, his voice soft. But it is also a beautiful one, a place of extremes, where life fights to survive, and where the very air you breathe can be both a blessing and a curse. The lecture ended, and students began to disperse. Kendra, however, found herself lingering, her thoughts swirling. The earth, a death world. The word echoed in her mind, a stark contrast to the vibrant, beautiful planet she had imagined. She knew now that Earth was not a place for the faint of heart, a place where survival itself was a constant struggle. But as she left the lecture hall, she couldn't help but feel a strange sense of fascination. This planet, this death world, held a raw, primal energy that both terrified and captivated her. She knew, deep down, that she had to see it for herself. "Earth sounds fascinating," chirped a voice from the back of the lecture hall. A young, iridescent blue-skinned student with large, amber eyes, named Zeork, sat beaming. "I've always wanted to visit a death world. Imagine the stories you could tell." Professor Jarl chuckled, a low rumble that resonated through the room. "You'll be telling stories all right, Zeork," he said, a wry smile playing on his lips. "But make sure you return to tell them. Many haven't." A wave of nervous giggles rippled through the lecture hall. Zeork, unfazed, winked and leaned back in his chair, his tail swaying rhythmically. "I've always been fascinated by Earth's extreme environments," said a young, slender student named Exora, her voice a melodious hum. She had 4 delicate, shimmering wings, a pale green skin tone, and eyes that shone like emeralds. "They say the deserts are magnificent, with vast dunes that shift with the wind, and the mountains are majestic, reaching for the sky. But they're also deadly," Professor Jarl reminded her, his tone serious. "The deserts are scorching hot, and the mountains are treacherous. The storms, the volcanic eruptions, the earthquakes. Earth is a constant battle for survival." "And the life forms," exclaimed a student with 6 limbs and a chitinous shell, named Exan. "They're so aggressive. I heard they have creatures that can fly through the air, hunt in packs, and have venom that can kill a grown Zargorian." "And the humans," Professor Jarl added, his gaze sweeping over the room. "They're a powerful species, incredibly resourceful and intelligent, but also prone to conflict and destruction. They've even brought their planet to the brink of collapse several times." "But haven't they also overcome those challenges?" asked Exora, her emerald eyes reflecting a glimmer of hope. "Isn't that what makes them so interesting? Their resilience, their capacity for change?" "Indeed, Exora," Professor Jarl acknowledged, a hint of admiration in his voice. "Humans are a paradox, a contradiction. They are both destroyers and protectors, creators and destroyers. They are capable of great love and unimaginable cruelty. They are, in short, the ultimate enigma. And that's what makes Earth so fascinating." A hum of excitement filled the lecture hall as the alien students absorbed the professor's words. Each of them, from the vibrant blue-skinned Zeork to the multi-limbed Exan, carried their own fascination with this unique death world. Earth, despite its dangers, held a powerful allure, a promise of adventure and discovery, a challenge that beckoned them to explore its secrets. Professor Jarl's words echoed in their minds, painting vivid images of a planet as beautiful as it was dangerous. The students, coming from diverse planets with their own unique environments, now shared a common thread of curiosity and anticipation. The enigmatic Earth, with its tumultuous beauty and resilient inhabitants, had captured their imaginations, and they were eager to delve deeper into its mysteries. They had come to Intergalactic Academy to learn about the galaxy's diverse ecosystems, and Earth, the Deathworld, was the ultimate test of their knowledge and courage. The journey had just begun, and each of them was ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. "So, you're telling us that humans are the apex predators on Earth?" A tall, slender student with shimmering blue skin raised an eyebrow. He was from the planet Xylo, a world known for its peaceful, symbiotic ecosystems. "They control the planet?" Professor Jarl nodded, a wry smile playing on his lips. "Not entirely. They've made a significant impact, that much is undeniable. But Earth's environment is still very much in charge. Humans have adapted to it, learned to manipulate it, but they are also very much subject to its whims." A chorus of gasps and murmurs rippled through the lecture hall. The students, hailing from various planets across the galaxy, had come to Earth's history and culture class with preconceived notions. Earth, after all, was a deathworld, a planet infamous for its dangerous and unpredictable nature. "We've heard stories, of course," said a young student with delicate antennae, a native of the peaceful, aquatic world of Ayla. "But it's hard to imagine. How can a species so fragile survive in such a harsh environment?" "Fragile?" Professor Jarl chuckled, a low rumble in his throat. "That's a common misconception. Humans are remarkably adaptable. They've survived volcanic eruptions, ice ages, plagues, and even their own self-destructive tendencies. Their resilience is a testament to their ingenuity and determination. But their technology," a student from the technological hub of Anya, a planet where advanced machinery was practically worshipped, interjected. "It's rudimentary compared to ours. How can they possibly manage?" Professor Jarl leaned back in his chair, his gaze sweeping over the curious faces before him. "Their technology is indeed different, perhaps even less sophisticated in some ways. But it's crucial to understand their perspective. They value pragmatism and resourcefulness. Their technology is built for survival, not necessarily for extravagance or sheer power. They don't have flying cars or teleportation devices." A student from the floating city-state of Kai whispered, his expression a mixture of awe and disbelief. Professor Jarl chuckled again. "They're working on it. However, their technology is often a response to their environment. On Earth, the focus is on utilizing the planet's resources: wind, water, sunlight, and even the very ground beneath their feet." The students exchanged glances, trying to reconcile their preconceptions with the professor's words. Earth, a death world, seemed to be a planet of paradox, where both fragility and resilience, simplicity and ingenuity coexisted in a dynamic, often chaotic dance. "But what about their culture?" asked a student from the planet Ako, a world renowned for its intricate social structures and complex philosophical debates. "How do they manage to exist in such chaos?" Professor Jarl paused, allowing the question to hang in the air. "Human culture is diverse, vibrant, and often contradictory. They are a species of contradictions, driven by both cooperation and competition. They can be incredibly creative and innovative, but also prone to conflict and violence. They hold a deep respect for nature, yet they are also capable of exploiting it for their own ends." "So, they're unpredictable," the student from Ayla mumbled, her antennae twitching nervously. "How can we possibly study them?" "Exactly," Professor Jarl smiled, his eyes twinkling. "That's what makes them so fascinating. They are a species of endless possibilities, a testament to the boundless diversity of life in the universe. Studying Earth is not just about understanding a death world, it's about understanding ourselves and the intricate tapestry of existence that binds us all." A ripple of unease washed over the lecture hall. The students had come to Earth seeking knowledge, eager to unravel the mysteries of this infamous planet. However, Professor Jarl's words had planted a seed of doubt. Earth was not just a dangerous place, it was a complex, multifaceted world that defied easy categorization. It was a planet that challenged their assumptions, a place that held the potential for both wonder and danger. And as they prepared to embark on their field studies, a wave of apprehension mingled with a strange, inexplicable excitement washed over them. Earth, the Deathworld, was about to reveal its secrets, and they were about to experience its wild, chaotic beauty firsthand. A hush fell over the classroom as Professor Jarl finished his lecture. The students, a diverse group of aliens representing various star systems, exchanged nervous glances. Earth, the Deathworld, seemed more terrifying than they'd initially imagined. It was a place of unimaginable extremes, where life itself appeared to be a constant struggle against the elements. "Now," Professor Jarl announced, a hint of amusement in his voice, "you will all be assigned to a guide, an Earth specialist, who will help you further understand this fascinating planet." A tall, slender figure emerged from the shadows, his movements surprisingly fluid despite his seemingly bulky frame. He had a mop of unruly brown hair, a pair of kind, intelligent eyes that seemed to twinkle with suppressed laughter, and a faded blue uniform that spoke of years spent on expeditions and research. "This is Professor Zalen," Professor Jarl introduced him. "He's an Earth historian and a seasoned explorer. He'll be your guide throughout your studies." Professor Zalen smiled warmly, his smile making the students feel slightly less apprehensive. "Welcome, students," he greeted them, his voice warm and welcoming. "I've been eagerly anticipating your arrival." He paused, and then added, with a twinkle in his eyes, "I hope you're ready for a wild ride." The students, still reeling from Professor Jarl's warnings, exchanged nervous glances. One of them, a young insectoid with iridescent wings, spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. "Professor Zalen," she began, "our textbook describes Earth as a primitive planet. It says that humans are still reliant on outdated technologies." "Ah, yes," Professor Zalen chuckled softly. "I understand your concerns. It's a common misconception. You see, human technology is very different from yours. It's not about efficiency or power. It's about adaptability and resilience." He pointed to a window overlooking the university's sprawling campus. "Look at that," he said. "That's a human city, built on a foundation of natural resources, woven into the very fabric of their environment. It's a testament to their ability to adapt to their surroundings. Humans are not simply surviving, they're thriving, even in the face of seemingly impossible challenges." He paused, letting the students contemplate his words. "It's not about how much they know, but how well they understand. You see, their technology isn't just tools. It's a reflection of their history, their culture, their very way of life." One of the students, a tall humanoid with shimmering, metallic scales, raised a tentacled hand. "But Professor," he said, "our readings also mention that humans are a very aggressive species. They engage in wars, exploit their resources, and pollute their environment." Professor Zalen nodded thoughtfully. "True," he said. "Humans are indeed capable of great cruelty. However, it's also true that they are capable of incredible acts of compassion and selflessness. They are a paradox. They are both the destroyers and the protectors of their planet." "But Professor," a young, furred alien with large, curious eyes interjected, "if they are so destructive, why hasn't Earth been destroyed already?" Professor Zalen smiled. "That," he said, "is the most fascinating question of all. It's a testament to their resilience, their capacity for change, and their deep connection to the planet they call home. This is what makes Earth a death world, a planet where the line between life and death is constantly being drawn and redrawn." He looked at the students, his gaze holding their attention. "You're going to learn so much here. You're going to witness things that will challenge everything you thought you knew about life in the universe. You're going to understand that Earth is not just a planet. It's a living, breathing organism, constantly evolving, constantly adapting, and constantly defying expectations. He leaned back, a thoughtful expression on his face. "So, are you ready?" he asked, his eyes twinkling with anticipation. "Let's embark on this journey together and discover the wonders and the perils of this remarkable Deathworld." The sleek, silver vessel, a marvel of extraterrestrial engineering, descended gracefully through the Earth's atmosphere. The students, a diverse group of beings from across the galaxy, peered out the panoramic viewport, their apprehension mingling with a flicker of awe. Their journey had been long, a silent testament to the perilous nature of the planet they were about to experience. It had been years since an official expedition to Earth had been undertaken. The planet's volatile atmosphere, coupled with the unpredictable nature of its human inhabitants, had made such ventures extremely risky. For many in the intergalactic community, the planet remained a mythical enigma, a brutal world shrouded in both fascination and fear. Finally, the ship touched down with a gentle hum, its landing pads settling upon a bed of soft, emerald-green moss. The students, eager to finally set foot on this legendary Deathworld, disembarked, their eyes wide with wonder. The air was alive with the sounds of the forest, a symphony of rustling leaves and chirping insects. The sun, a radiant orb in the azure sky, cast a golden glow upon the lush foliage, painting the scene with an ethereal beauty. Zalen, their guide, a seasoned explorer with a gentle yet authoritative demeanor, stepped forward. "Welcome, everyone," he said, his voice warm and reassuring. "We have landed in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, a place of incredible biodiversity and wonder. While we have taken all the necessary precaution, remember, we are guests on this planet. Please, let us maintain a respectful distance from the indigenous life forms and follow my lead." The students, their curiosity piqued, followed Zalen as he led them deeper into the forest. They marveled at the intricate web of life that surrounded them, the vibrant flora and fauna, a stark contrast to the sterile, controlled environments of their home planets. Giant trees, older than their civilizations, towered overhead, their branches adorned with exotic blooms. Brilliant butterflies, their wings a kaleidoscope of color, flitted amongst the foliage, while exotic birds sang their haunting melodies. As they progressed, Zalen pointed out various plants and animals, explaining their unique adaptations to this harsh environment. "This is a strangler fig," he said, pointing to a towering tree with roots that enwrapped the trunk of another. "It starts its life as an epiphyte, growing on the branches of another tree, before sending its roots down to the ground, eventually suffocating its host." The students, accustomed to the neat order of their own biospheres, found themselves captivated by the raw, chaotic beauty of Earth. It was a place where life, in all its forms, had adapted and thrived, defying all odds. The sheer resilience and tenacity of Earth's creatures, from the smallest insects to the mightiest predators, filled them with both admiration and a certain primal fear. "This is a death world," Zalen said, a hint of wry humor in his voice. "But within its dangers lies a profound beauty, a testament to the enduring nature of life itself." A young student, a slender, four-armed being from a planet of swirling nebulae, approached Zalen, a mixture of curiosity and apprehension in her luminous eyes. "Professor," she said, her voice soft and melodious, "we are told that Earth is a dangerous planet, populated by humans, a species known for their destructive tendencies. Is it truly safe for us to be here?" Zalen smiled. "Safety, my dear," he said, "is a relative term. Earth is not a place for the faint of heart. It is a planet that will test your every assumption, challenge your every instinct. But it is also a place of immense beauty and wonder. The key is to approach it with respect and humility. Learn from its inhabitants, understand their struggles and their triumphs, and you will find that the risks are well worth the reward." As the alien students continued their exploration, they realized that Earth was indeed a place of contrasts, a tapestry woven from both danger and beauty. They had come to study a death world, but they were beginning to see it for what it truly was: a vibrant, dynamic planet, a testament to the tenacity of life in the face of adversity. And within this chaotic world, they found themselves drawn to its raw energy, its untamed spirit, a reflection of the universe's own boundless creativity. They had come expecting a harsh, unforgiving world, but they were beginning to understand that Earth, in all its complexity, was a planet both awe-inspiring and deeply fascinating. It was a world that challenged their perception of what it meant to be alive, a world that, despite its dangers, was undeniably captivating. "Now, remember, this is a death world," Zalen said, his voice echoing through the alien spaceship. "Every step we take is a calculated risk. Respect the environment, respect the creatures, and above all, respect the humans." The alien students, a diverse group from across the galaxy, nodded nervously. They had all heard the tales of Earth, the death world where the atmosphere was volatile, the creatures aggressive, and the humans, well, unpredictable. Zyle, a young alien with iridescent scales and eyes that shimmered like starlight, stared intently out the viewport. He had always been fascinated by Earth, a planet shrouded in mystery and intrigue. It was a world unlike any other, a crucible of life, chaos, and beauty. He'd heard the whispers, the warnings about the unpredictable humans, their capacity for both immense destruction and profound creativity. This was a world he yearned to understand, to unravel its mysteries. "I've been studying Earth for years," Zyle said, his voice a low hum, "and I can't help but feel there's more to it than just danger. There's something captivating about its resilience." A couple of the other students scoffed. They saw Earth as a primitive backwater, a planet teeming with deadly creatures and unhinged inhabitants. They couldn't fathom why Zyle, with his advanced intellect and refined sensibilities, would be drawn to such a place. Zalen, however, smiled faintly. He had seen the same spark of curiosity in the eyes of countless students before Zyle. It was the same spark he himself had carried when he first set foot on Earth, decades ago. "Good," Zalen said, his voice taking on a more serious tone. "Earth is a planet that demands curiosity. It's a place where nothing is quite what it seems." As the ship descended through the thick, swirling clouds above the Amazon rainforest, the students gasped at the sight before them. An emerald tapestry of life, stretching as far as the eye could see, pulsated with an energy that seemed to thrum through the very air. Trees towered towards the heavens, their branches adorned with vibrant orchids, parasitic vines, and exotic birds with plumage like stained glass. The air buzzed with a symphony of insects, the calls of unseen creatures, and the gurgle of unseen rivers winding through the dense undergrowth. "Incredible," whispered Vix, an alien with skin the color of polished jade. "It's overwhelming." "Indeed," Zalen said, "and it's only the beginning. The Amazon is a microcosm of Earth's biodiversity, its beauty, and its danger." Zyle was enthralled. He wanted to explore every nook and cranny of this vibrant world, to uncover its secrets, to understand the life that thrived in its heart. The stories, the warnings, the fear, all paled in comparison to the raw beauty that unfolded before him. He felt a strange pull, a powerful draw towards this chaotic, beautiful, and incredibly dangerous death world. He took a deep breath, the humid air filling his lungs, and said, "This is a place of life, of chaos, of incredible strength. I think I'm going to like it here." The other students exchanged uneasy glances. They had heard tales of the Amazon, of its deadly creatures, its unforgiving environment, and its unpredictable humans. They were here to study Earth, to understand why it was classified as a death world, and to learn how humans managed to survive its harsh realities. But they couldn't help but feel a sense of apprehension, a nagging fear that perhaps they'd bitten off more than they could chew. As Zalen led them through the rainforest, his eyes scanning the dense foliage, his voice a calm reassurance, Zyle felt a sense of determination. He was here to learn, to understand, and perhaps, just perhaps, to prove his classmates wrong. Earth was a death world, but it was also a world of wonder, a place where life had found a way to thrive, to adapt, to evolve. He was ready to embrace the challenge, to delve into the depths of this fascinating, perilous planet. He was ready to experience Earth, the death world, for himself. The humid air hung heavy, thick with a scent of damp earth and decaying vegetation. The students, clad in their protective biosuits, moved cautiously through the undergrowth, their footsteps muffled by the soft earth. The Amazon rainforest, a tapestry of vibrant green, stretched out before them, teeming with life. "This is a place of extremes," Zalen, their guide, said, his voice amplified through their comm systems. "It's a paradise, but also a harsh mistress. Be vigilant and be respectful. Don't forget, this planet is not our own." They had been studying Earth for weeks, and their initial fear had been replaced by a grudging respect. Earth, they had learned, was a world of stark contrasts, a place where beauty and danger were intertwined, where the seemingly mundane could hold a hidden threat. As they walked, the students were captivated by the incredible diversity of life that surrounded them. Colorful birds flitted through the canopy, their calls echoing through the dense foliage. Monkeys swung from the branches, their chattering voices adding to the symphony of the rainforest. The air buzzed with insects, their wings creating a mesmerizing hum. "It's almost overwhelming," whispered Ixa, a student from the planet Vilar, whose world was dominated by vast, desolate plains. "Such an abundance of life." "Yes," Zalen agreed. "Earth is a planet of extremes, and that includes its biodiversity. You won't find anything quite like this on our home planets." They continued deeper into the rainforest, following a narrow path carved through the dense vegetation. The air was thick with a smell of decaying wood and damp earth, a pungent aroma that mingled with the sweet scent of blooming orchids. Suddenly, a movement caught Ixa's eye. A small, furry creature, no larger than a cat, emerged from the undergrowth. It had soft, brown fur, bright, curious eyes, and a long, prehensile tail that curled around a branch. It looked harmless, almost cute, and the students were captivated by its appearance. "What is it?" asked a student named Zor, his voice tinged with curiosity. "It's a local fauna, not particularly dangerous," Zalen said, his voice calm but wary. "It's a—" He paused, searching for the right name. "Let's call it a jungle sprinter, for now. They are found in the rainforest and are known for their surprising speed and agility." The creature tilted its head, its eyes fixed on the students. It seemed to be studying them, its long tail twitching nervously. The students, captivated by its appearance, started to take out their scanners, eager to document this newfound species. Just then, the jungle sprinter let out a high-pitched squawk. The sound was deceptively sweet, but carried an underlying tremor of menace. Suddenly, its fur bristled, and its eyes, once seemingly innocent, gleamed with a fierce intelligence. It leaped forward with an astonishing speed, its long, sharp claws extended. The students, caught off guard, stumbled backward. Ixa, in her haste to retreat, tripped and fell. The jungle sprinter, its eyes fixed on her, lunged again, its claws outstretched. Zalen, moving with surprising speed, shoved Ixa out of the way, the creature's claws scraping his biosuit. For a moment, they were frozen in time, staring at the creature as it snarled, its small body bristling with fury. Then, with a final hiss, the jungle sprinter turned and vanished back into the thick undergrowth, leaving behind an eerie silence. The students stared at each other, their faces pale with shock. The encounter, though brief, had been terrifying. They had seen the creature's true nature, the raw power that lurked beneath its deceptively harmless exterior. The jungle sprinter, despite its small size, was a formidable predator, and they had been lucky to escape unharmed. That was frightening," Ixa said, her voice trembling. Zalen nodded, his face grim. "Yes," he said. "This planet is a Deathworld, remember? It's filled with creatures that look harmless, but can be deadly. Remember what I said about vigilance and respect? We're guests here. We need to be careful." The air hung thick and heavy, a humid blanket pressing down on the students. The jungle, a riot of colors and sounds, seemed to close in around them, its vastness a constant reminder of their vulnerability. Zalen, his eyes sharp with experience, led them deeper into the dense undergrowth, his calm demeanor a comforting anchor in the face of the unknown. "Remember," Zalen reminded them, his voice a low rumble, "every step we take here is an opportunity to learn, but also a potential danger. We must respect this world, its beauty, and its dangers." They continued their exploration, the students carefully navigating the treacherous terrain. The rainforest, a kaleidoscope of vibrant green, revealed its hidden secrets with each passing moment. Giant ferns, their leaves unfurling like emerald banners, towered over them, casting fleeting shadows that danced like phantoms in the dappled sunlight. The air vibrated with the buzz of insects, a symphony of chirps, clicks, and whistles that echoed through the dense foliage. The students, still adjusting to Earth's intense sensory overload, marveled at the intricate tapestry of life woven into the rainforest. Its beauty was undeniable, but beneath the surface they felt a growing unease, a primal sense of fear that whispered in the back of their minds. As they emerged into a clearing bathed in sunlight, they stumbled upon a sight that sent a shiver down their spines. A group of small, brightly colored creatures, resembling iridescent birds with elongated legs, were perched on a fallen log, their large, luminous eyes fixed on the students with an unsettling intensity. "Jungle sprinters," Zalen explained, his voice carrying a note of caution. "They're harmless. Well, usually." He paused, his gaze lingering on the creatures, a faint tremor in his voice. "They're highly territorial, and their venom is quite potent. Best not to provoke them." The students, initially fascinated by the colorful creatures, quickly drew back, their apprehension growing. The jungle sprinters, their wings twitching nervously, emitted a series of high-pitched chirps, their eyes gleaming with a predatory glint. Suddenly, one of the creatures, its feathers shimmering with a metallic sheen, darted forward with lightning speed, its sharp talons extended. Its attack was a blur of motion, a whirlwind of iridescent wings and flashing claws, before it landed on the shoulder of a young student, its razor-sharp beak piercing the fabric of his uniform. The student yelped in surprise, instinctively swatting at the creature. It released a high-pitched shriek, its venom-laced talons sinking deeper into his flesh. The student, his face contorted in pain, stumbled backward, his cries echoing through the clearing. Chaos erupted. The other students, their initial fascination replaced with terror, scrambled to get out of the way, their movements clumsy and panicked. The jungle sprinters, sensing their fear, surged forward, their iridescent bodies a blur of motion as they launched themselves at the students. Zalen, his face grim, reacted instantly, his movements honed by years of experience on this planet. He grabbed a handful of dirt, flinging it at the creatures, their iridescent bodies briefly disappearing in a cloud of dust. He shouted instructions, guiding the students to a nearby thicket of trees, providing cover from the relentless attack. As they huddled together, their breathing ragged, the students looked around them, their eyes wide with disbelief and fear. They had been warned about Earth's dangers, but this was different. This was real, visceral, and terrifying. The jungle sprinters, their chirps echoing through the clearing, continued their attack, their iridescent bodies flashing in and out of the foliage. The students, trapped in the thicket, were left to wonder if Earth was truly as dangerous as they had been told. The rainforest, once a place of wonder, now seemed to be a vast, unforgiving maze, filled with creatures that could turn deadly in an instant. They huddled together, their faces illuminated by the flickering sunlight, the feeling of apprehension and unease settling over them like a thick fog. The air grew thick with humidity as they emerged from the rainforest, the vibrant green giving way to the stark gray of concrete and steel. The transition was jarring, a stark contrast to the chaotic yet beautiful world they had just left behind. Zalen, his eyes twinkling with amusement, explained that they were now entering a human city, a hub of activity and innovation, a testament to their species' resilience. The students stared at the towering structures, their metallic skin reflecting the harsh sunlight. They were dwarfed by the sheer scale of it all, a feeling amplified by the constant stream of human vehicles, a blur of color and noise. The air, despite the humidity, seemed to buzz with an energy that was both exhilarating and unnerving. "This is overwhelming," whispered Ixa, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of traffic. The other students nodded in agreement, their faces betraying their unease. They were used to the serene tranquility of their home planets, where cities were structured and ordered, their inhabitants adhering to a strict code of conduct. This was chaotic, a whirlwind of unpredictable movement and unpredictable human behavior. Zalen, sensing their apprehension, chuckled. This is how humans thrive. They're chaotic, yes, but also incredibly adaptable. This city, this entire planet, is a testament to their ability to push boundaries, to innovate, to conquer their environment. He gestured towards a nearby skyscraper, its glass facade shimmering like 1,000 tiny diamonds. See that building? Humans built it. Every brick, every beam, every window, a testament to their creativity and ingenuity. The students looked at the skyscraper, their apprehension slowly giving way to a grudging respect. It was a stark contrast to the natural wonders they had witnessed in the rainforest, yet it held a unique allure, a symbol of human ambition and ingenuity. "But how can they build something like this?" asked Zalen, his voice tinged with disbelief. "This planet is full of dangers, the weather is unpredictable, and the creatures, they are frightening. How do humans manage to build such intricate things?" Zalen smiled. "They build because they have to. Earth is a tough place to live, but humans are tough as well. They adapt, they innovate, they push the boundaries of what's possible. They're not afraid of challenges, they embrace them, and they use them to make themselves stronger." He paused, watching as a group of humans walked past, their faces a mix of exhaustion and determination. Their cities are like a mirror, reflecting their strengths and their weaknesses. The hustle, the bustle, the endless activity, it's all part of the human experience. It's what makes them unique. It's what makes them, well, human. The students remained silent, absorbing his words, their minds trying to reconcile the stark reality of Earth with the preconceptions they had arrived with. They had come to study a Deathworld, a planet on the edge of survival, yet here they were, standing in the heart of a bustling city, a testament to human resilience. The city was a living organism, a complex and unpredictable beast. It was a world of constant change, of endless possibilities, of exhilarating chaos. It was a place where humans thrived, despite the dangers, despite the challenges, despite the harsh reality of their existence. And as the alien students stood there, surrounded by the sounds and sights of the city, they began to understand. They began to see Earth not just as a death world, but as a world of incredible resilience, a world of extraordinary beauty, a world of contradictions and challenges, a world that was, in its own chaotic way, alive. The airship descended, its sleek, metallic hull, a stark contrast against the sprawling concrete jungle below. The alien students, their bodies tense with apprehension, pressed their faces against the viewport. The city sprawled beneath them, a labyrinth of towering structures that seemed to pierce the sky. A symphony of noise rose from the ground, a cacophony of horns, sirens, and the distant rumble of machinery. The students exchanged nervous glances, their faces a mixture of awe and trepidation. "Earth cities are overwhelming," whispered Jorn, his 3 eyes darting across the scene. "Indeed," agreed Zalen, his voice calm and steady. "They are a testament to human ingenuity, a reflection of both their strengths and weaknesses." He gestured towards the bustling streets below. "These cities are the result of their incredible adaptability, their ability to conquer even the most challenging environments. But they are also a reminder of their tendency towards overconsumption and the potential for chaos." As the airship landed, the students disembarked, their footsteps echoing through the vast, echoing concourse. The sheer scale of the city was daunting, the air thick with a mix of exhaust fumes and the scent of food. Humans, their bodies varying in size and shape, moved around them with a hurried, purposeful gait. Some wore brightly colored clothing, others donned sleek, metallic uniforms. A vibrant mosaic of faces, some etched with a weary resignation, others radiating a vibrant energy, filled their field of vision. The city was a living organism, pulsing with a chaotic energy. Cars, a seemingly endless stream of metal and glass, roared past, their horns blaring, their headlights cutting through the urban haze. Above, a network of interconnected highways crisscrossed the city, a chaotic dance of steel and concrete. The students, accustomed to the order and predictability of their own worlds, felt a sense of disorientation. "This is very different from what I expected," muttered Zira, her 4 tentacles twitching nervously. "Our textbooks made it seem more organized." "Earth is a planet of contrasts," replied Zalen, his eyes gleaming with a strange fascination. Its beauty often lies in the very chaos that you find unsettling. Remember, this is not a controlled environment. This is a living, breathing organism, as unpredictable as the humans themselves. The students, guided by Zalen, navigated the city's labyrinthine streets. The air buzzed with a constant hum, the sound of humanity in motion. They observed the human interactions, their exchanges both baffling and strangely intriguing. They witnessed the hustle and bustle of the markets, where vendors hawked their wares in a symphony of competing voices. They observed the intricate dance of human relationships, their expressions a kaleidoscope of emotions: joy, sadness, anger, and hope. "It's fascinating," said Elora, her antennae twitching with curiosity. "These humans, they're so complex. I can't believe I ever thought they were simple creatures." Zalen smiled, a subtle shift in his expression, a glimmer of pride in his eyes. "They are indeed complex, full of contradictions, capable of both great beauty and immense destruction. They are a species that has defied all odds, that has thrived on the very edge of chaos. Earth is a death world, as you know, yet they have found a way to create a civilization that is both fragile and remarkably resilient." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the city, the students found themselves at a park, a small oasis of green amidst the concrete jungle. They watched as human children played, their laughter echoing through the twilight. They witnessed the city's transformation, its chaotic energy settling into a quieter, more introspective mood. The day's experience left a deep impression on the alien students. The city, a microcosm of Earth's dynamism, had challenged their preconceived notions, forcing them to confront the complexity and contradictions inherent in human existence. They had seen the sheer scale and chaos, the relentless energy, the fragility and resilience. They had experienced the beauty of humanity in the face of adversity. And they knew, as they gazed up at the city's glittering skyline, that they had only scratched the surface of this extraordinary planet. The city, a cacophony of light and sound, was a jarring contrast to the serenity of the rainforest. Buildings, impossibly tall and adorned with flashing lights, scraped the sky, while the air hummed with a constant buzz. The students, accustomed to the quiet serenity of their home worlds, were overwhelmed by the sheer scale and energy of the city. They stumbled through the throngs of people, their senses overloaded by the dizzying array of sights, sounds, and smells. "Look!" gasped Vila, her iridescent scales shimmering with excitement as she pointed towards a group of individuals. "They're all so different." Her classmates, equally fascinated, craned their necks to see. The group consisted of individuals with skin tones ranging from pale white to deep ebony, their features as varied as the colors of a nebula. Some had hair in vibrant shades of red, blue, and even green, while others were completely bald. Their clothing was a patchwork of styles, from sleek, tailored suits to flowing robes and tattered jeans. "They're all human," Zalen stated, his voice a calming presence amidst the chaos. "Each of these individuals, despite their differences, belongs to the same species." The students exchanged puzzled glances. They had all learned about Earth's diversity, but the sheer range of human variation was astounding. It was like stepping into a gallery of alien beings, their differences both captivating and unsettling. "How is it possible?" questioned a young student, named Tilar, his antennae twitching nervously. "They look so different from each other, almost like they're from different planets." Zalen chuckled. "They are indeed from different planets, Tilar, but not in the way you think. They are all from different parts of Earth, each with their own unique history, culture, and traditions." He pointed to a group of individuals dressed in vibrant saris, their voices a melodious chorus as they spoke a language unfamiliar to the students. "These are from the Indian subcontinent, a land of vibrant colors, ancient traditions, and spicy cuisine. They are renowned for their artistry and their love of music." Then, he gestured towards a group of individuals dressed in brightly colored clothing, their bodies adorned with intricate tattoos. "These are from the Pacific Islands, known for their vibrant culture and their deep connection to the ocean. They are skilled navigators and storytellers, and their music is infused with the spirit of the sea." As the students followed Zalen's explanations, their apprehension began to dissipate. Their initial shock at the diversity of human culture began to morph into fascination. They realized that the human species, despite their inherent contradictions and conflicts, possessed an extraordinary ability to adapt and thrive in diverse environments. Each group, with their unique customs and languages, was a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. "It's incredible," remarked Ara, her eyes wide with awe. "They are so different, yet they all seem to live together in harmony." Zalen nodded, a wry smile playing on his lips. "Harmony is a strong word, Ara. Let's just say they are a complex species, capable of both great beauty and great ugliness. They have a history of conflict and violence, but they also have a deep capacity for love, compassion, and creativity." The students, their faces a mixture of wonder and trepidation, continued to explore the city. They marveled at the intricate patterns of human architecture, the vibrant colors of their art, and the infectious energy of their music. They were beginning to understand that Earth was not just a death world, but a planet of incredible diversity, complexity, and beauty. The bustling city was a symphony of sights and sounds, a chaotic, vibrant tapestry that was both overwhelming and captivating. The students, accustomed to the quiet serenity of their home worlds, were initially overwhelmed by the sheer energy of the metropolis, the constant rush of people and vehicles. However, Zalen, their guide, explained that this was a testament to human resilience and ingenuity, their ability to create and adapt in the face of seemingly impossible challenges. "We may think of Earth as a death world," Zalen said, "but it's also a world of incredible dynamism and change. Look at this city, a microcosm of human ingenuity, built and rebuilt, constantly evolving. It's a reflection of the human spirit, striving to create something beautiful and functional from chaos." As they ventured deeper into the city, Zalen introduced them to a group of friendly humans who had volunteered to act as local guides. These individuals, from diverse backgrounds and walks of life, were eager to showcase their city, sharing their passion and knowledge with the extraterrestrial visitors. The first guide, a young woman named Lyra, led them to a bustling food market, a kaleidoscope of colors and aromas. "This is where the city comes alive," she said with a smile, "a place where people from all walks of life come together to share their traditions and flavors. You'll find everything here, from spicy street food to exquisite cuisine. It's a celebration of human creativity and connection." Lyra, with infectious enthusiasm, introduced them to a variety of foods, explaining their origins and cultural significance. The students, initially hesitant, were charmed by her passion and the richness of the flavors. They sampled exotic spices, freshly baked bread, vibrant fruits, and a variety of street food delicacies, their senses awakened by the sheer variety and diversity of human culinary traditions. Next, a friendly older gentleman named Marcus, a retired architect, led them through a vibrant public park, a green oasis in the heart of the city. He shared his knowledge about the city's history, explaining how the park was a testament to the human desire to find beauty and tranquility amidst the urban sprawl. "We may be a species that builds cities," he said, "but we also need to remember the importance of nature and the balance between human progress and the natural world." The students were amazed by the variety of plants and trees, the melodic chirping of birds, and the gentle breeze that rustled through the leaves. They marveled at the park's carefully designed gardens, the intricate sculptures, and the vibrant murals painted on the walls, all expressions of human creativity and artistry. The final guide, a young man named Kai, a passionate musician, took them to a live music venue, a bustling hub of energy and creativity. As the band launched into a vibrant and soulful song, Kai explained, "Music is the universal language of humanity. It transcends differences, bringing people together to celebrate life and express their emotions." The students, captivated by the music, were moved by the rhythm and melody, a testament to the power of human expression. As the students left the city, they were filled with a newfound understanding and appreciation for humanity. They had witnessed the resilience and ingenuity of humans, their capacity for creativity and connection, their complex and often contradictory nature. Earth, despite its designation as a death world, was a planet of breathtaking beauty, where chaos and order coexisted, where humanity, with all its flaws, had managed to create something truly remarkable. They realized that Earth was more than just a planet. It was a living, breathing entity, a testament to the enduring power of life in the universe. The alien students, their senses overloaded by the city's vibrancy, were next ushered into a bustling cafe, their guide Zalen explaining that it was a hotspot for locals and tourists alike. The air thrummed with a cacophony of human voices and the clatter of cutlery, the scent of roasting coffee and exotic spices filling their nostrils. The cafe, however, was not a conventional one. There were no physical menus. Instead, a peculiar device, smooth and luminous, rested on every table. Zalen, anticipating their bewilderment, smiled and said, "This is what you humans call a tablet. It allows you to access information and entertainment at your fingertips." The students gathered around, fascinated by the tablet's smooth surface that shimmered with an array of colorful icons. They cautiously touched it, surprised by its coolness and responsiveness. Zalen, with a hint of amusement, tapped the screen, revealing a labyrinth of images, words, and videos that scrolled endlessly. "This is what we call the Internet," Zalen explained. "It's a vast network of information, connecting humans across the globe." The students, accustomed to their own secure and controlled networks, found the sheer volume of information on Earth's Internet overwhelming. A student named Yara, a tall and slender Xylian with iridescent scales, raised a tentacle. "How do you navigate this? It seems to be filled with everything." Zalen chuckled. "That is the beauty of it, Yara. It can be overwhelming, but it also grants us access to a world of knowledge and perspectives. It's a powerful tool, but like any tool, it can be misused." He tapped the screen again, showcasing a particular application labeled social media. "This is a platform where humans connect, share their lives, and discuss their opinions," Zalen explained. The students were immediately intrigued, peering over each other's shoulders to witness the chaotic yet mesmerizing parade of images and text scrolling across the screen. They saw vibrant photos of cities, landscapes, and even images of themselves, captured during their field trip. There were videos of people dancing, singing, and performing all sorts of bizarre activities. The students gasped at the sheer diversity of human expressions, their worldviews challenged by the sheer volume of information. A young Xylian named Creel, who had been rather quiet throughout their journey, spoke up, his voice laced with disbelief. This is all real. These humans are constantly broadcasting their lives for everyone to see." Zalen nodded. "Yes, Creel, that's a very human trait, the desire to connect and share. It's often seen as a sign of their social nature, their need to communicate and be seen." He pointed to a video where a group of humans were engaging in a heated debate about some obscure political issue. Creel frowned. "But why? Why would they put so much of their lives on display? And why would they argue so vehemently about things that seem so insignificant to us?" Zalen sighed. "That's the thing, Creel. Humans are a complex species. They are capable of great love and compassion, but also immense anger and conflict. This social media platform is just another reflection of that duality." The students continued to explore the tablet, mesmerized by the vastness of information available to humans, the sheer scale of their interconnectedness, and the sheer variety of human expression. They were confused, fascinated, and somewhat terrified by the glimpse they had received into the human psyche. One of the students, a large-eyed Zithian named Xan, pointed at a series of posts filled with images of food. "Zalen, what is this?" Zalen smiled. "Ah, this is what we call food porn. Humans are very passionate about their food. It's more than just sustenance to them. It's an experience, a celebration of life." He scrolled through the posts, pointing out various dishes: a steaming plate of pasta, a perfectly grilled steak, a vibrant array of vegetables, all beautifully presented and captioned with evocative descriptions. The students, who had only experienced the bland nutritional pellets provided by their ship, were astonished by the beauty and variety of Earth's cuisine. Their eyes widened with a mixture of fascination and apprehension. Earth, they realized, was a planet filled with contrasts, contradictions, and complexities. Its beauty, its dangers, its technology, its human inhabitants all presented a fascinating challenge to their understanding of the universe. It was a planet they were both drawn to and afraid of, a world that defied their initial assumptions and promised a journey of discovery, intrigue, and perhaps, just perhaps, a profound change in their perspective. The air inside the bustling Earth cafeteria hummed with a symphony of unintelligible sounds. A cacophony of chattering voices, clanging cutlery, and the rhythmic whir of food preparation machines assaulted the alien students' senses. The cafeteria, a stark contrast to the sterile, silent dining halls they were accustomed to, felt like a living organism, pulsating with the energy of 1,000 interacting lives. Zalen, their guide, stood patiently, a wide grin etched across his face as he observed their bewilderment. "Welcome to the heart of human sustenance," he declared, his voice booming over the din. "Earthly cuisine might seem strange, even intimidating at first, but I promise, it's an adventure for your taste buds." The students exchanged apprehensive glances. Their home planets boasted a variety of culinary experiences, but none quite like this. The aroma alone was a sensory assault, a potent mix of spices, sweet and savory scents mingling in an intoxicating cocktail. "Let's start with the basics," Zalen continued, guiding them towards a table laden with an assortment of food. "These are called sandwiches, a staple of human cuisine. They consist of bread, various fillings, and sometimes a sauce or spread." One of the students, a tall, slender being with shimmering turquoise skin and large, multifaceted eyes, leaned closer, his antennae twitching with curiosity. "Bread? Is it a type of edible plant material?" Zalen chuckled. "Indeed, it is, made from wheat, which is ground into flour and then baked. And the fillings? They vary widely, depending on the region and the individual's preferences. But they often include meats, cheeses, vegetables, and even sauces. Do you want to try one?" The student, whose name was TL, hesitated, his expression a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. I would like to try," he said tentatively, extending a thin, four-fingered hand. Zalen smiled, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "Excellent choice, TL. You're in for a treat." He selected a sandwich with a generous helping of roasted chicken, lettuce, and a tangy mustard sauce, and placed it into TL's hand. "Now, take a bite," he said, his voice encouraging. TL carefully lifted the sandwich to his mouth. His eyes widened as he took a bite, the unfamiliar flavors exploding on his palate. He chewed slowly, his expression shifting from bewilderment to a flicker of delight. It's quite different from anything I've tasted before," he remarked, his voice filled with wonder. "That's Earth for you," Zalen said, his grin widening. "It's a world of surprises. Now, let's see what other culinary delights we can discover." He gestured towards the rest of the students, each of whom was staring at the assortment of food with a mix of fascination and fear. "Don't be afraid to experiment," he encouraged them. "You might just find a new favorite dish." And so, the alien students embarked on a culinary adventure, navigating the unfamiliar terrain of Earth's culinary landscape. They sampled a variety of foods, each one a unique and often bizarre experience. They tried steaming bowls of brightly colored noodles, thick and savory stews, and even a strange concoction called pizza that consisted of a flatbread topped with a variety of toppings. Some of the dishes were a resounding success, while others left them bewildered and even slightly nauseous. But through it all, they learned. They learned about the diversity of Earth's food culture, its regional differences, and the ingenuity with which humans utilize their resources. They learned that Earth, despite its reputation as a death world, was a place of surprising culinary delight, and a world where even the most basic of meals could be a fascinating journey for the senses. They also learned that human social norms were quite different from their own. They observed the intricate dance of social interactions, the handshakes, the hugs, the quick glances, the subtle shifts in body language that conveyed meaning beyond words. They even witnessed a brief, boisterous argument between two humans, who, to their surprise, resolved their dispute with a shared laugh and a pat on the back. The students, accustomed to the formality and precision of their own societies, found Earth's social interactions to be a complex and often perplexing spectacle. But they were eager to learn, to understand the intricate dance of human communication. After all, they were here to study this fascinating world, to unlock its secrets, and to gain a deeper understanding of the human species. And they were beginning to realize that Earth, the Deathworld, was a place of immense complexity and endless possibilities. The aroma of spices and simmering broth hung heavy in the air, a dizzying blend of earthy, sweet, and savory. The students, huddled around a table overflowing with dishes, cautiously sampled Earth delicacies: a deep-fried pastry filled with savory meat, a fragrant curry with spicy vegetables, and a colorful salad with tangy dressing. Even TL, the bravest of the group, was hesitant about trying the vibrant red jelly, its texture eerily similar to the bioluminescent algae from his home planet. Zalen, ever the patient guide, chuckled at their apprehension. "Don't worry, you're not expected to eat everything," he reassured them. "Just try what piques your curiosity. You'll find that Earth's food is as diverse as its people." He pointed to a group of students, their faces illuminated by a flickering screen. "See those Earthlings? They're busy with their social media, a way for them to connect and share information across vast distances." The students, accustomed to their own efficient communication networks, were intrigued. One of them, Aran, a tall, lanky student with iridescent blue skin, approached a group of Earth students huddled around a table, their faces glowing with light emanating from their small handheld devices. He peered over their shoulders, fascinated by the constant flow of images, text, and videos. "It seems they spend a great deal of time interacting with each other," Aran observed, his voice laced with confusion. "Is this necessary for their survival?" The Earth student, a bubbly girl with bright, inquisitive eyes, looked up, her brow furrowed. "Survival? Well, not exactly. It's more about connecting, sharing, and expressing ourselves. It's part of what makes us human." Aran, confused, looked at Zalen for clarification. Zalen, with a knowing smile, explained, "Their social media is an extension of their need to connect and share, a way to build community and strengthen their bonds. It might seem frivolous to you, but it's a powerful tool for communication and influence." The students, accustomed to their own highly organized and efficient communication systems, struggled to comprehend the seemingly frivolous nature of Earth's social media. It seemed to them a chaotic mess, a constant barrage of information, opinions, and emotions. However, as they observed the Earth students interact, a peculiar image caught their attention. One of the Earth students, a boy with a bright, mischievous smile, was holding a small, handheld device, his eyes glued to its screen. He was tapping away furiously, his fingers moving with an incredible speed and precision. He paused, seemingly lost in thought, and then began to tap again, his face lit up with concentration. He was, they noticed, creating something. Aran, still bewildered by the seemingly pointless nature of their social media, was fascinated by the boy's intense focus and the swift movements of his fingers. He leaned closer, his eyes widening in disbelief. "He's creating something," he whispered, his voice a mixture of awe and apprehension. "What is he making?" Zalen chuckled, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "He's building a world of his own, a digital creation where he can express his ideas and share them with others. He's creating stories, experiences, and even virtual realities." Aran, still grappling with the concept of Earth's social media, was stunned. He realized that these seemingly frivolous activities held a deeper significance. Humans, despite their volatile and unpredictable nature, possessed a remarkable ability to create, to build, and to connect. They were not simply surviving on their planet, they were thriving, shaping their environment and shaping their own future. The students, once apprehensive about the challenges of Earth, now gazed upon it with newfound respect. They realized that Earth, despite its inherent dangers, was a world of immense resilience, a planet where human ingenuity and creativity could flourish. They began to understand that the chaotic, often unpredictable nature of Earth was not a sign of weakness, but a testament to the strength of its inhabitants. This Deathworld, with its complex social structures and unpredictable environment, was a place of extraordinary beauty and hidden strength, a testament to the resilience of life itself. The cafeteria buzzed with an energy that was both exhilarating and overwhelming. Students, their forms a kaleidoscope of alien shapes and sizes, swirled around the room, their conversations a symphony of clicks, chirps, and whistles. The air itself seemed to thrum with the pulse of 1,000 different beings, each with their own rhythms and frequencies. Kendra, her 3 eyes wide with fascination, watched a group of students, their bodies shimmering with iridescent scales, huddle around a table, their hands gesturing wildly as they argued over the merits of a particularly pungent-smelling dish. Zalen, ever the watchful guide, had steered them through the labyrinthine corridors of the cafeteria, his antennae twitching with amusement at their bewildered expressions. He'd warned them about the cacophony of smells and tastes that awaited them, but nothing could have prepared them for the sensory onslaught that was Earth's cafeteria. "Here, try this," Zalen said, proffering a small, crispy snack. It was a deep-fried pastry, its surface dusted with a bright orange powder. Kendra, cautiously, took a bite, her senses exploding with a combination of savory, salty, and slightly sweet. It was a symphony of flavors that was both unfamiliar and strangely satisfying. "What is it?" she asked, her voice laced with a hint of trepidation. "It's called a chicken nugget," Zalen explained, watching as Kendra savored the taste. "A popular snack food. Humans love them. They're a good example of how humans can take something simple and turn it into something delicious." The other students were hesitant at first, their antennae twitching with suspicion. However, the sheer energy of the cafeteria, the laughter and chatter, the excited chatter of the student, was infectious. Soon, they were all trying different things, their initial apprehension giving way to a mixture of wonder and amusement. One student, a tall, slender being with luminous blue skin, named Tally, found himself particularly captivated by a dish called spaghetti. He watched with fascination as the human student across from him twirled the strands of pasta around his fork, his face alight with pure joy. He, hesitantly, took a bite, and his face lit up with surprise. It's surprisingly good," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "I expected it to be more primitive, but this is sophisticated." "Earth cuisine is full of surprises," Zalen said, his voice tinged with amusement. "It reflects the complexity of human culture, their history, their desire to create and connect." As they continued to explore the cafeteria, the students began to notice a pattern. They were surrounded by a myriad of dishes, each a testament to the diverse cultures and traditions of Earth. There was the spicy curry of India, the delicate dumplings of China, the rich chocolate desserts of Europe, the hearty stews of Africa. Each bite was a journey, a taste of another world, another culture, another history. "This is amazing," said TL, a small, furry being with large, expressive eyes. He had been skeptical at first, but now he was utterly enthralled by the sheer diversity of Earth's culinary landscape. "It's not just the food," said Kendra. "It's the way people interact. It's how they share their food, how they laugh and talk. There's a warmth here that I wasn't expecting." The students, their initial apprehension now replaced by a sense of wonder, began to realize that Earth was not the savage, unforgiving Deathworld they had imagined. It was a planet of contradictions, a world where danger and beauty existed side by side, a place where even in the midst of chaos, there was a surprising sense of community and connection. "I never imagined humans would be so sophisticated," TL said, his eyes wide with wonder. "We've heard so much about their destructive tendencies, their wars, their environmental damage. But this feels like a different world." Zalen nodded. "Earth is full of contradictions," he said. "It's a world of both beauty and destruction, of both cruelty and compassion. Humans, like all species, have their flaws, but they also have the capacity for great things, for creativity, for love, for connection. And it is that capacity that has allowed them to survive and thrive, despite the challenges they face." The students, their minds racing, fell silent. They had come to Earth with a preconceived notion of a planet that was a violent, unforgiving place. But now, they were beginning to see a different picture. Earth was a world of complex beauty, a place where humans, despite their flaws, were capable of incredible things. As they left the cafeteria, their faces alight with a mixture of curiosity and wonder, the question lingered in their minds. Was Earth truly a death world, or was it something more, something far more complex, far more fascinating than they had ever imagined? The buzzing of the cafeteria had settled, replaced by a quiet hum of anticipation. Zalen stood before the students, a faint smile playing on his lips. He raised a hand, silencing any murmurs that might have begun. "Today," he began, his voice carrying a gentle resonance, "we delve into the history of Earth, a history as complex and vibrant as the planet itself." The students, still buzzing from the sensory overload of the cafeteria, leaned forward, their eyes wide with curiosity. The initial trepidation they felt towards Earth seemed to have lessened, replaced by a burgeoning sense of wonder. Zalen took a deep breath. From the very beginning, Earth was a crucible of change. It was not always the lush, diverse world we see today. Its history is one of cataclysmic events, of life adapting and evolving in the face of extinction, of species rising and falling like tides. He gestured towards a digital screen that flickered to life, displaying images of volcanic eruptions, raging storms, and vast glaciers. "This is what Earth's early history looked like," Zalen explained, his voice tinged with awe. "Imagine a world where volcanoes spewed molten rock, where the air was thick with ash, and where the oceans teemed with primitive life forms." The students, their eyes glued to the images, felt a chill run down their spines. It was a world they could barely comprehend, a world of unimaginable power and chaotic beauty. "The first forms of life," Zalen continued, "were simple, single-celled organisms. But they were tenacious, surviving in environments that would be fatal to any other form of life." He paused, letting the image of a primordial Earth sink in. Over eons, these simple organisms evolved, diversified, and eventually gave rise to more complex life forms. The images on the screen changed, showing the emergence of plants, animals, and eventually, dinosaurs. The students watched, fascinated, as the Earth transformed, becoming a vibrant tapestry of life. "But Earth was not a gentle parent," Zalen said, his voice somber. "It was a harsh, unforgiving mother who demanded resilience from her children." He spoke of massive extinction events, of asteroids crashing into the planet, wiping out entire ecosystems. He described the slow, relentless evolution of life, the constant dance between extinction and survival. The students, who had initially viewed Earth as a planet of breathtaking beauty, were now confronted with its brutal past. The image of Earth, once a source of wonder, now carried a hint of fear, a reminder of the planet's raw power. "But Earth," Zalen said, his voice softening, "is also a planet of resilience. It is a planet that has weathered countless storms, that has endured countless challenges. It is a planet that has witnessed the rise and fall of countless species, and yet life persists." He pointed to a final image on the screen, a human being, standing against a backdrop of Earth. "And finally," he said, "we come to the story of humanity." He described how humans, born from this tumultuous past, were a species of remarkable adaptability, capable of overcoming even the most daunting challenges. He spoke of their ingenuity, their creativity, and their capacity for both great love and profound destruction. "The history of Earth," Zalen concluded, "is a testament to the power of life, the resilience of nature, and the complex, often contradictory nature of humanity." As the students left the lecture hall, they carried with them a new understanding of Earth. It was a planet of breathtaking beauty and terrifying power, a planet that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. It was a world that demanded respect, a world that inspired awe, and a world that held both promise and peril. They had not just learned about Earth's history, but about the very essence of life itself. The whirring of the museum doors announced their arrival, a stark contrast to the buzzing energy of the cafeteria. Zalen, ever the guide, led them into the vast, hushed space, a stark contrast to the bustling city outside. The air was heavy with a strange mix of antiquity and modernity, a scent of history and preserved artifacts. The students, their initial apprehension replaced by a growing sense of curiosity, followed their guide, their eyes wide with wonder as they stepped into this portal of Earth's past. Professor Zalen, a seasoned historian and seasoned Earth expert, stood before them, his bioluminescent skin shimmering under the museum's artificial light. "This, my dear students," he began, his voice booming across the cavernous hall, "is a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of the human species." He gestured grandly to a towering wall lined with images and artifacts. "These are the remnants of a civilization that has endured for millennia, a civilization that has seen its share of hardship and triumph." The students, their eyes darting across the vast space, were met with a kaleidoscope of colors and textures. Giant screens flickered with silent, mesmerizing scenes, images of ancient civilizations, towering monuments, intricate maps, and stunning pieces of art, all echoing the story of humankind. They saw remnants of ancient tools, weapons, and ornaments, remnants of a bygone era, echoing a civilization far removed from their own. The students were awed by the sheer volume of evidence, their senses overwhelmed by the enormity of human history. "Look around you," Zalen urged. "Observe the artifacts, the tools, the art, the remnants of stories, of lives lived, of triumphs and struggles. Each object is a window into the human mind, into a time when technology was just beginning to bloom." The students, their initial apprehension replaced by a sense of profound curiosity, started to explore. A group huddled around a replica of a hand-hewn stone tool, its smooth curves and jagged edges whispering of a time when humans relied on their own ingenuity and strength. Another group surrounded a display of ancient writing, their multi-tentacled hands tracing the patterns of symbols, trying to decipher the meaning behind these cryptic glyphs. They were fascinated by the simple tools that had led to the creation of complex civilizations, marveling at the sheer ingenuity of their creators. They moved on to exhibits showcasing the evolution of human technology, each artifact a testament to their species' unrelenting drive towards progress. They saw early forms of communication, from smoke signals to crude forms of writing, progressing through the ages to the invention of the printing press, the telegraph, and finally, the Internet, a vast network of information that connected the entire planet. They were captivated by this evolution, this relentless push for innovation, a force that had propelled humanity to the forefront of their corner of the universe. Their journey took them past displays showcasing advancements in medicine, technology, and art, each exhibit revealing the incredible breadth of human creativity. They saw the evolution of the wheel, the harnessing of electricity, and the dawn of space travel, each invention a monumental leap forward in human understanding. They were awestruck by the sheer scope of human ingenuity, their initial preconceived notions of Earth as a death world slowly crumbling under the weight of this overwhelming evidence. The museum also showcased the diverse tapestry of human cultures, highlighting the unique artistic expressions, rituals, and belief systems that had shaped the human experience. They witnessed the beauty of ancient sculptures, the grandeur of ancient temples, and the intricate details of traditional clothing and jewelry, all testament to the diverse and vibrant cultures that had flourished across the globe. As the students explored further, Zalen brought them to an exhibit dedicated to the arts. On display were vibrant paintings, intricate sculptures, and mesmerizing musical scores. The students, accustomed to the stark, minimalist art of their homeworlds, were captivated by the vibrant expression and raw emotion captured in these works. They were touched by the stories told through paintings, moved by the power of music, and mesmerized by the intricate details of sculptures. This display highlighted the human capacity for creativity, the way art could transcend language and connect people from different worlds. The museum, a testament to the human experience, ended with an exhibit showcasing the planet's current state. The students were presented with both the challenges and the triumphs of the modern world, their achievements alongside the environmental damage they had caused. This display, a stark reminder of the fragility of life on Earth, served as a powerful reminder of the responsibility that humans carry for their planet. their actions impacting not just their own species, but the delicate balance of life itself. As they left the museum, their minds buzzing with newfound knowledge and respect for the Earth and its people, the students felt a sense of awe and wonder. They had witnessed the incredible journey of human civilization, a story of resilience, ingenuity, and a constant drive for progress. The museum, a monument to human history, had challenged their preconceived notions, revealing the complexity and beauty of this Deathworld. It had shown them that Earth, despite its harsh environment, was a planet teeming with life, a planet that had witnessed countless stories of triumph and adversity, a planet that had shaped the very fabric of their universe. "Now, we're going to step back in time a bit," Zalen said, his voice booming through the cavernous museum hall. "To the dawn of humanity. This is where we learn about our ancestors, their struggles, their triumphs." The alien students shuffled in, their expressions ranging from polite indifference to downright boredom. After all, history wasn't exactly the most exciting subject for creatures who lived for hundreds of thousands of years. They had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, all from a comfortably distant vantage point. Studying the relatively short history of humans, who seemed to be obsessed with their own insignificant timeline, felt almost trivial. Zalen, sensing their disinterest, decided to take a different approach. Instead of bombarding them with dates and names, he focused on the essence of human struggle, their relentless drive to overcome the challenges Earth threw at them. He pointed to a display of rudimentary tools, crafted from stone and bone, highlighting their simplicity yet effectiveness. "These were the first tools humans made," Zalen explained. "Imagine, they used these to hunt, to farm, to build their lives. It wasn't easy, but they persevered. They adapted." The students glanced at each other, a flicker of curiosity beginning to stir within them. The tools, though crude, radiated a sense of purpose, a testament to the ingenuity of these early humans. Zalen continued his narrative, showcasing their evolution from simple tools to more complex ones. "Look at these, the first rudimentary weapons," he said, pointing to a display of spearheads and arrowheads. "These helped them defend themselves, but also to explore and conquer new lands. They weren't afraid of challenges, they embraced them." A few students leaned in closer, their antennae twitching with interest. The concept of humans, a species they initially perceived as relatively primitive, taking on such challenges resonated with their own evolutionary struggles. It was a story of survival, of adapting to the harshest environments, a story that transcended species and resonated deeply within their alien minds. Zalen then led them to the next exhibit, showcasing the rise of agriculture. He explained how humans, instead of merely hunting and gathering, learned to cultivate land, domesticate animals, and create a more stable way of life. "This marked a turning point," Zalen said. "It allowed them to build communities, villages, eventually cities. This was the dawn of civilization, the beginning of their journey towards the world you see today." The alien students, their initial disinterest fading, were now captivated. This was a journey of incredible change, a constant evolution, a testament to the adaptability and resilience of a species that had faced so many challenges. Zalen then brought them to a display showcasing the development of the wheel, a simple invention that revolutionized transportation and trade. They learned about the development of writing, a tool that allowed humans to record their stories, share knowledge, and build upon the achievements of their ancestors. They saw replicas of ancient maps, intricate depictions of the world they knew so little about, maps that had guided their ancestors across vast lands. As they walked through the museum, the students started to ask questions, their curiosity piqued. They wanted to know more about the struggles humans faced, about the wars they fought, about the plagues they endured, but also about the art they created, the music they composed, the stories they told. They were beginning to see a fascinating paradox, a species capable of immense cruelty and destruction, yet also capable of creating beauty, forging connections, and building a world of astonishing complexity. Each exhibit, each artifact, was a glimpse into the human story, a testament to their relentless pursuit of knowledge, their relentless drive to overcome challenges and build a better world. It was a story that had captivated them, and though they were still apprehensive about this Deathworld, they were starting to see its complexity, its resilience, and its undeniable beauty. They were beginning to see the humans not just as inhabitants of a dangerous planet, but as creatures of extraordinary will and potential. Their initial skepticism had given way to a newfound appreciation, a recognition of the extraordinary journey of a species that had faced the harshest challenges, yet continued to strive for something better. The tour of the museum had not only introduced them to human history, but had also opened their minds to a new understanding of the universe and the beings that inhabit it. The journey to Earth had become more than just a study of a death world. It was a journey of discovery, of learning, and of appreciating the incredible complexities of life in all its forms. Zalen gestured towards a darkened hallway, the flickering lights casting long shadows across the polished floor. This section, he said, his voice hushed, deals with some of the more difficult aspects of human history. It's not a pretty story, but it's one that helps us understand how we arrived at where we are today. The alien students exchanged nervous glances. The brightly lit halls of the museum had been filled with awe-inspiring displays of human creativity and ingenuity. This darkened corridor, however, felt heavy with an unspoken weight. A sense of foreboding hung in the air. This exhibit focuses on the darker side of our history, Zalen continued, leading them deeper into the shadows. The periods of great conflict, the tragedies that shaped our species, the times when we faltered and lost sight of our better nature. The first display was a stark representation of a battlefield. Dim lights highlighted rusted weapons, shattered armor, and faded photographs of soldiers, their faces etched with weariness and suffering. A holographic projection flickered to life, showcasing a chaotic scene of battle, the air filled with a deafening roar of explosions and the screams of the wounded. The students, accustomed to peaceful and orderly societies, were visibly shaken by the intensity of the display. "This is a depiction of a war," Zalen explained, his voice soft, one of many that have plagued human history. Conflicts fueled by greed, ideology, territorial disputes, they have been a constant throughout our past. He led them to the next display, a stark reminder of the consequences of human actions. A towering wall of screens displayed a timeline of environmental disasters, the images stark and unforgiving. They saw smoke plumes rising from burning forests, glaciers retreating, and polluted rivers choking on plastic waste. Each image was accompanied by statistics and data, grim reminders of the human impact on the planet. Humans, for all their ingenuity, have often been their own worst enemy, Zalen said, his voice laced with a quiet sorrow. We have a tendency to exploit and overconsume, often at the expense of our own planet and its resources. These displays showcase some of the devastating consequences of our actions. As they moved deeper into the exhibit, the atmosphere grew even more oppressive. The next display focused on societal conflicts, the struggles for power, equality, and freedom. It depicted images of protests, riots, and acts of repression, stark reminders of the human capacity for cruelty and injustice. Humans have struggled with the complexities of social organization for centuries, Zalen explained. We have sought to build societies based on fairness and equality, but the path has been paved with conflict and hardship. This exhibit highlights the challenges and the tragedies that have shaped our history. The student, silent and contemplative, absorbed the grim narrative unfolding before them. They saw evidence of human aggression, negligence, and the dark side of their ambition. The images they witnessed challenged their initial perceptions of Earth as a beautiful and peaceful planet. The final display was a somber tableau of a post-apocalyptic city, its once towering structures crumbling under the weight of time and decay. A ghostly, muted voice narrated a story of a global pandemic that had decimated the planet, leaving only ruins and whispers of the past. The students felt a wave of sadness wash over them, realizing the fragility of human civilization and the precariousness of their existence. We share this history, both the triumphs and the tragedies, Zalen said, his voice a low whisper. It's not a story we are proud of, but it's one we must learn from. These dark chapters of human history are a reminder that even the most advanced civilizations are susceptible to mistakes. and that the path to progress is often paved with conflict and hardship. However, they also show the resilience of the human spirit, our ability to learn, adapt, and strive for a better future. The alien students left the exhibit with a newfound understanding of Earth and its inhabitants. They had seen the beauty, the ingenuity, and the resilience, but they had also witnessed the darkness, the mistakes, and the struggles that had shaped human history. Their journey had become a journey of self-discovery, as they grappled with the complexities of Earth and the profound nature of humanity. They had witnessed the human capacity for both great good and unimaginable evil, and they were left to ponder the weight of that knowledge as they continued their exploration of this extraordinary Deathworld. The exhibit's air hung heavy with the weight of human history, the silence punctuated by the rhythmic whirring of the ventilation system. Zalen, his usually jovial face etched with a solemn gravity, gestured towards a large, circular screen displaying an intricate timeline. It depicted a fragmented history of human civilization, punctuated by moments of breathtaking innovation and shocking violence. The students, their faces pale and drawn, stared at the screen, a mix of apprehension and disbelief swirling in their eyes. "These are some of the darkest chapters in our history," Zalen stated, his voice hushed, echoing the somber tone of the exhibit. The periods of conflict, wars waged over resources, territories, beliefs, and even ideologies. The senseless violence, the destruction of habitats, and the extinction of species, all driven by a seemingly insatiable thirst for power. The alien students, accustomed to the peaceful, interconnected societies of their home worlds, found the display jarring. Their peaceful cultures had always revolved around cooperation and mutual respect. The sheer magnitude of human brutality, the vastness of their collective self-inflicted pain, was almost incomprehensible to them. How could they have survived? A young alien named Jinar, with skin the color of amethyst and large, expressive eyes, stammered, his voice laced with disbelief. How could a species so prone to destruction continue to exist? This is beyond anything we could imagine. How is this even possible? That is a question that has been debated for millennia, Zalen replied, his voice firm yet laced with a hint of melancholy. There are many theories, many perspectives. Some believe it is a testament to the very essence of human nature, their adaptability, their resilience, their ability to learn from their mistakes, however painful the lessons may be. Others see it as a reflection of their inherent flaws, their capacity for greed, for cruelty, for blind ambition. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. Perhaps, he continued, the answer lies in both. Humans are a paradoxical species, capable of both great good and unimaginable evil. They are a species that walks a precarious tightrope, forever balanced between creation and destruction, peace and conflict. The students, still reeling from the disturbing evidence of humanity's capacity for violence, remained silent. The air in the room felt charged with a sense of unease. Their initial image of Earth, a vibrant planet brimming with life and beauty, was now tainted by the harsh reality of its past. The idea of a death world had suddenly become less about hostile environments and more about a species capable of destroying itself, its home, and the life it nurtured. But, Zalen added, his voice softening, despite the darkness, humanity has also shown remarkable strength and resilience. They have rebuilt, they have learned, they have evolved. They have a deep-rooted desire to understand themselves, to make amends, to move forward. This, I believe, is the defining characteristic of human nature. Their ability to rise from the ashes, to overcome their flaws, and to strive for a better future. The alien students remained silent, their minds grappling with the conflicting aspects of human history. The juxtaposition of humanity's destructive capabilities and their tenacity, their capacity for both cruelty and compassion, left them deeply unsettled, their perception of Earth forever altered. The exhibit, though harrowing, offered a glimpse into the complexity of the human experience, a story of both tragedy and triumph, leaving them with a newfound sense of unease and a burning desire to understand this enigmatic species. As the students moved through the exhibit, a hushed silence fell over the group. The stark displays of human conflict, from ancient battlefields to modern warfare, were a stark contrast to the serene, peaceful landscapes they were accustomed to. The air was thick with a sense of unease, a collective gasp escaping the students as they witnessed images of destruction and suffering. Except for Zyle. He stood before a display depicting the aftermath of a volcanic eruption. The charred earth and skeletal remains a testament to the planet's raw power. His antennae twitched, fascination replacing the apprehension that gripped his classmates. "This is incredible," he muttered, his voice barely a whisper. "It's almost beautiful, in a way." His classmates looked at him with a mixture of confusion and concern. "Beautiful, Ixa?" A student from the planet Xyler scoffed, her antennae drooping. "This is a horrifying reminder of Earth's destructive potential." Zyle shook his head, his eyes glued to the display. "No, I mean, look at how they survived. They rebuilt. They adapted. This is a testament to their resilience, their ability to overcome even the most devastating challenges." Zalen, their guide, smiled, his eyes twinkling with understanding. "You're right, Zyle. Earth's history is a cycle of creation and destruction, of progress and setback. Humanity has been through countless hardships, from natural disasters to self-inflicted conflicts. But each time, they've found a way to persevere." He pointed to a nearby display showcasing the rise and fall of ancient civilizations. "Look at the Egyptians," he said. "Their empire lasted for thousands of years, but eventually they collapsed. Yet, from their ruins, new civilizations emerged, carrying with them the knowledge and wisdom of their predecessors. This is the story of human history, a story of constant change and adaptation." Zyle nodded, his fascination growing. "And the technology," he exclaimed, pointing to a display depicting the development of weapons. "They started with crude tools and evolved them into incredibly sophisticated weapons. They learned to use their environment to their advantage, creating defenses and strategies to protect themselves from danger." "Indeed," Zalen agreed. "The dark side of human history is undeniable, but it also reflects their remarkable ingenuity and adaptability. They are capable of both great cruelty and great compassion, of both destruction and creation." The other students remained unconvinced. "It's still terrifying," Ixa said, her antennae still drooping. "Why do they do this to each other? Why are they so prone to conflict?" Zalen sighed, a thoughtful expression on his face. "That's a question that has puzzled philosophers and historians for centuries. There are many theories: competition for resources, differences in beliefs, the thirst for power. But in the end, it boils down to the complexity of human nature. They are a species of contradictions, capable of both extraordinary kindness and unspeakable cruelty." Zyle remained focused on the displays, his mind racing. "But they're also capable of incredible things," he argued. "They built magnificent cities, developed groundbreaking technology, and created art and literature that still inspires us today. They're a species of paradox, filled with both darkness and light." Zalen smiled, his eyes meeting Zyle's. "You're beginning to understand, Zyle. Earth is not just a death world. It's a planet of extremes, a world of beauty and brutality, of hope and despair, and the human race, for all their flaws, are a fascinating and complex species, capable of both the most unimaginable acts of cruelty and the most profound acts of love and compassion." Zyle looked at his classmates, their expressions a mixture of apprehension and intrigue. "This isn't just about the bad things," he said, his voice gaining confidence. "It's about the whole story, the triumphs and the failures, the darkness and the light. It's about how they overcame adversity and continued to evolve. This is the story of human resilience, and I find that incredibly compelling." He turned back to the exhibits, his antennae now perked up with curiosity. He had come to Earth with a preconceived notion, a picture of a dangerous, primitive planet. But this exhibit had shattered his expectations. It had revealed a complex and fascinating species, a species of contradictions and complexities. He was no longer apprehensive. He was intrigued. He wanted to learn more. He wanted to understand this death world and its inhabitants. He wanted to understand what made them so unique, so resilient, and so very, very human. "So, you're telling us," Ixa began, her voice laced with disbelief, "that despite all the destruction, humans actually managed to build a society that thrives?" Zalen nodded, a knowing smile playing on his lips. "Indeed, it is a testament to their adaptability, their relentless spirit. Earth has been through many cycles of growth and decline, but humans, despite their flaws, have proven capable of learning from their mistakes." "But how?" VL, always the pragmatic one, interjected. "How can they be so violent and yet so advanced?" Zalen gestured to the next exhibit, a wall of holographic screens showcasing a timeline of human progress. "It's a paradox, isn't it? It's a part of what makes Earth so fascinating. You see, humans are not simply driven by instinct. They are driven by a deep curiosity, a need to understand the world around them." The students gathered around, mesmerized by the visuals unfolding before them. The screens flickered with images of ancient tools, rudimentary medicine, and early attempts at understanding the universe. "As you saw in the previous exhibit," Zalen continued, "humans started with very basic tools, but their understanding of the world grew exponentially. They learned to harness the power of fire, then water, then wind. And then, they began to understand the very fabric of life." The screens began to showcase breakthroughs in medicine, depicting crude surgery techniques evolving into complex surgical procedures. Their understanding of the human body, their ability to heal, even their flawed attempts at understanding the intricate mechanisms of the human mind, were all steps towards a more advanced civilization, Zalen explained. "And the technology," Ixa muttered, "it's everywhere." Zalen smiled. "That's right. From the first stone tools to the intricate machines that carry them across continents, to the very communication devices you are holding now," he said, gesturing towards their datapads. "Humans have an insatiable hunger to invent, to solve problems, to push the boundaries of what's possible." The screens then showcased a rapid progression of technological advancements: the printing press, the steam engine, the electric light bulb, the first rockets, and eventually, the internet. The students gasped in awe. "This is overwhelming," TL admitted, her eyes wide. "It is," Zalen agreed, "but it's not just about the tools they created, it's about the ideas that fueled their progress. Their scientific method, their drive to question, to research, to challenge the status quo, is what propelled them forward. And all this, despite the wars, the pollution," VL added, still unconvinced. "Yes," Zalen said, "but that is also part of the story. Humanity's history is a tapestry of light and darkness. But even in the darkest moments, there have always been those who strive for progress, who seek to improve the world, who use their knowledge to heal, to create, to understand." The students were silent, their minds racing, trying to process the sheer scale of human achievement. The screens finally landed on a series of images depicting modern technology spacecraft orbiting the planet, medical miracles, intricate machines capable of solving complex problems, and even a glimpse of a burgeoning space program. "It's remarkable," Ixa said, her voice hushed. "And to think, they've achieved all this in such a short amount of time." "It's true," Zalen said, his eyes twinkling with pride. "And they continue to push the boundaries, to explore new possibilities. They are a species constantly in motion, a species that never seems to settle for the status quo. It's what makes Earth so unpredictable, so challenging, and yes, so fascinating." The students exchanged glances, their apprehension gradually replaced with a growing sense of wonder. It seemed the more they learned about Earth, the more complex, contradictory, and ultimately, the more alluring it became. They were beginning to see Earth not just as a death world, but as a planet teeming with life, resilience, and a drive for progress. It was a world that both horrified and inspired them, a world that challenged their preconceived notions about life in the universe. "So," Zalen said, his voice low, "what do you think? A horrifying spectacle, isn't it?" The students, their faces pale, could only nod in response. The holographic display, a grim panorama of war and destruction, stretched across the museum hall. The students had been bombarded with images of human conflict, the ravaged landscapes of battlefields, the stark skeletons of ancient cities, the chilling documentation of human cruelty. "This is our history," Zalen continued, his voice echoing through the echoing hall. "It's not pretty, is it? But it's real. How can they be so destructive?" A student, TL, the one who had bravely sampled the sandwich, whispered, his normally lively voice hushed. "It is a question that has plagued us for centuries," Zalen replied, his gaze melancholic. "Humans are a paradox, capable of great love and compassion, yet also capable of unimaginable violence." The students looked around the exhibit, a chilling reminder of the dark underbelly of human history. Each image was a stark testament to their inherent capacity for self-destruction, and the students, accustomed to the peaceful societies of their own planets, were struggling to reconcile this reality with their preconceived notions of Earth. "But," Zalen continued, noticing the growing unease in the room, "there's another side to this story." He gestured to a display that chronicled the evolution of human technology, primitive tools, the first written words, the intricate machinery of modern life. "Look around you," Zalen urged. "See those machines? Those towering structures? That interconnected network of information? This is the product of the same species that created those horrors you saw before." He pointed to an image of a sleek spaceship, a testament to human ingenuity. "This is what they've accomplished, even with their capacity for destruction. Look at the progress they've made. They've sent spacecraft to the stars, mapped the human genome, eradicated diseases, all within a few thousand years." The students, their faces still etched with apprehension, slowly began to understand. "We're not saying humans are perfect," Zalen cautioned. "They still have a long way to go. But their potential, their resilience, it's undeniable. Look at their history. They've faced extinction events, natural disasters, plagues. They've survived. They've thrived. And even though they've made mistakes, they've learned from them. They've adapted. They've pushed on." The students, overwhelmed by this sudden shift in perspective, looked at each other, exchanging glances of hesitant understanding. Zalen, sensing a shift in their mood, smiled gently. "I understand if you're still apprehensive," he said. "Earth is a complex place. It's a death world, yes, but it's also a world of breathtaking beauty and extraordinary resilience. We have much to learn from its inhabitants, and who knows, maybe we can help them learn a thing or two as well." The students, still wary, but with a newfound sense of respect, nodded in agreement. They had been introduced to the darkest side of human history, but they had also seen the light. Their journey to Earth was far from over, but they had begun to understand that this planet, with all its contradictions, was a place of undeniable strength. They had come to Earth fearing its dangers, but now they had begun to recognize its potential. Zalen paused, allowing the silence to settle over the group. He could feel their unease, the weight of what they had just witnessed hanging in the air. The exhibits had been stark, raw, a testament to the darker side of human history. He knew they were struggling to reconcile this with their own peaceful societies, with their understanding of Earth as a death world. "You see," Zalen said gently, "Earth is a complex place. It's not just about the dangers and the challenges. It's also about the resilience, the creativity, the relentless drive that has pushed humanity forward, despite everything." He gestured to the holographic timeline, its shifting images depicting the rise and fall of civilizations, the ebb and flow of innovation and destruction. "Humans are flawed," he continued, "but they are also remarkably adaptable. They make mistakes, but they also learn from them. They can be incredibly cruel, but also profoundly compassionate. They are, in many ways, a contradiction." He could see the skepticism in their eyes, the lingering questions. They were accustomed to a universe where order and harmony reigned supreme. Earth, with its chaotic history, its seemingly unbridled capacity for both good and evil, was a puzzle they couldn't quite grasp. "But this paradox," Zalen said, "is what makes Earth so fascinating. It's what makes human history a story of both triumph and tragedy, a story that's still being written." He took a deep breath, his gaze sweeping over their faces. Now, let's move on to something a little more practical. He guided them to a different section of the museum, a room dedicated to the scientific advancements that had shaped human society. The walls were lined with displays showcasing the evolution of tools, the invention of machines, the unraveling of the mysteries of the universe. This, Zalen announced, is where we get to see humanity's more hopeful side. He began to describe the scientific method, the relentless pursuit of knowledge that had propelled humanity from primitive beginnings to the brink of interstellar travel. He spoke of groundbreaking discoveries, of the drive to explore the unknown, to push the boundaries of understanding. And that drive, Zalen emphasized, is what drives Earth's future. It's what makes it possible for them to overcome the challenges, to adapt, to thrive. The students, intrigued by this new perspective, began to ask questions, their apprehension giving way to a flicker of fascination. They wanted to understand this complex species, this seemingly contradictory force that had managed to survive and prosper despite its flaws. "We're going to be spending a good deal of time on Earth," Zalen said, a smile gracing his lips. "And we're going to be getting to know these humans, their culture, their way of life." He paused again, watching as they took in this information, their eyes alight with curiosity. "But before we venture further," he said, his voice taking on a more serious tone, "there's something I need to tell you, something crucial to your understanding of Earth." He turned to face them directly, his expression intense. "We are going to conduct an experiment that will allow us to experience firsthand what it means to be human." The students exchanged uneasy glances. They were accustomed to the meticulous order of their own societies, to the structured learning that formed the foundation of their education. An experiment. What could that possibly mean? "Don't worry," Zalen reassured them, sensing their apprehension. "It's not going to be dangerous. It's simply a way to engage with Earth's culture on a deeper level." He elaborated, explaining that the experiment would involve them being assigned to different human families, immersing themselves in their everyday routines, experiencing their joys and sorrows, their challenges and triumphs. "It's a chance," Zalen said, "to see the world through human eyes, to understand them not just as creatures from a Deathworld, but as individuals, each with their own unique story." The students, still apprehensive, were nevertheless intrigued by the prospect. They were, after all, scholars, eager to learn and to expand their understanding of the universe. "We'll be carefully monitored, of course," Zalen reassured them, sensing their unease. "We'll be in safe hands, and we'll have plenty of opportunities to ask questions, to learn from our experiences." The students nodded, a hesitant agreement settling over the group. They were about to step into the unknown, into the world of humanity, a world that was both terrifying and tantalizing in its complexity. They were about to become, for a brief time, a part of Earth's story. "Now, you've all seen the history, the triumphs, and the tragedies of Earth," Zalen said, his voice resonating across the classroom. "But that's just data, a glimpse through a window. To truly understand a Deathworld, you need to feel it, experience its raw power." A ripple of unease passed through the students, their multifaceted eyes reflecting a mixture of apprehension and morbid curiosity. They had been warned about Earth's dangers, but the museum exhibits had only scratched the surface. This, however, was a new level of immersion. "We're going to participate in a simulated Deathworld experience," Zalen declared, his tone unwavering. "A carefully curated environment designed to replicate the harshest conditions of Earth, testing your skills and your knowledge. It's not a game, it's a test of your understanding." A chorus of whispers filled the room as the alien students processed this announcement. Some, like the stoic KRL with his multifaceted eyes, remained outwardly calm, while others, like the nimble Exan with his iridescent skin, fidgeted with nervous anticipation. Zalen, unfazed by their reactions, continued, "This simulation will involve extreme weather, challenging terrain, and, most importantly, encounters with simulated Earth life forms. You'll have to utilize your knowledge of Earth's ecosystems, its dangers, and, most importantly, the human response to those dangers. He activated a holographic projection, revealing a sprawling landscape. A desolate desert stretched out, punctuated by craggy rock formations and a scorching sun overhead. It was a far cry from the lush environments of their home planets. "This is the arid wasteland simulation," Zalen explained. "You will be split into teams, each with a specific goal. You'll need to navigate this harsh environment, overcome environmental challenges, and even face simulated encounters with predatory creatures." A low hum of excitement resonated through the classroom, quickly overtaken by a wave of anxiety. The alien students, accustomed to controlled environments and advanced technology, suddenly felt a sense of vulnerability. The simulated Deathworld experience, designed to test their understanding, was about to push them to their limits. Zalen continued, "Remember, your knowledge of Earth's history, its adaptations, its dangers, and even its human response will be your greatest assets. Think strategically, collaborate with your team, and above all, respect the environment." He gestured towards a shimmering portal in the center of the classroom. "This will transport you to the simulation. It will be challenging, but I have no doubt you will all rise to the occasion. Remember, you are here to learn, to adapt, and to understand. Now, get ready to face the Deathworld." As the alien students stepped through the portal, they left behind the safe, familiar confines of their classroom. They were stepping into a world of unfamiliar dangers, where the line between simulation and reality blurred, and the lessons learned on Earth would ultimately determine their future. The Deathworld experience was about to begin. A buzz of anticipation crackled through the air as the alien students gathered in the simulated arid wasteland's training ground. The vast, open space shimmered with the illusion of sun-scorched sand, jagged rocks, and a hazy, oppressive sky. Each student was outfitted with a sleek, biometric suit, its intricate circuitry a testament to their advanced alien technology. The suits were more than mere protective gear. They were extensions of their minds, providing data analysis, environmental readings, and tactical support. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of nervousness and excitement. For weeks, they'd absorbed knowledge about Earth's harsh environment, its volatile weather, and the predatory creatures that lurked within. They'd studied the historical accounts of human survival, their resilience and adaptability against seemingly insurmountable odds. Now, they were about to test that knowledge in a controlled environment, a simulated Deathworld experience designed to push them to their limits. "This is your moment," Zalen announced, his voice echoing across the training ground. His calm demeanor was a reassuring presence amidst the tension. "You've learned about Earth, its challenges, its dangers. Now, it's time to apply that knowledge. Remember, this isn't about winning or losing. It's about learning, adapting, and understanding the true nature of this Deathworld." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the students. "The simulation will be divided into teams, and each team will face different challenges. You will be tested on your ability to collaborate, strategize, and utilize your skills to overcome obstacles." The students, a mix of species with a diverse range of abilities, exchanged excited glances. Some, like the tall, slender HFY, whose species was known for its keen intellect and analytical prowess, radiated a quiet confidence. Others, like the boisterous HFY, whose species was renowned for its strength and agility, thrummed with competitive energy. "Each team will be equipped with a communicator and a map," Zalen continued, holding up a holographic device. "The communicator will provide you with mission objectives, updates on the environment, and crucial information on your progress. Use it wisely." He projected a detailed map of the simulation onto the ground, outlining the designated zones, resource locations, and potential hazards. The students huddled in their teams, their voices a vibrant symphony of alien tongues as they strategized and discussed their approach. The HFY, their sleek, iridescent bodies reflecting the simulated sunlight, were already dissecting the map, their minds racing through countless scenarios. The HFY, their powerful bodies twitching with anticipation, were eager to put their physical prowess to the test. "Ready to face the Deathworld?" Zalen asked, his voice laced with a hint of amusement. A collective roar of excitement erupted from the students. They were eager to demonstrate their abilities, to prove their worth. Some saw it as a challenge, a test of their intellect and skill. Others saw it as a chance to showcase their strength, their agility, their resilience. They were ready to step into the simulated arid wastelands, ready to face the challenges, ready to learn, ready to understand the complex, captivating, and dangerous world that was Earth. The air crackled with nervous anticipation. The alien students, a motley crew of diverse species and backgrounds, stood before the shimmering portal. It wasn't a true portal, of course, but a sophisticated projection, a holographic simulation of Earth's arid wastelands. Zalen, their guide and Earth historian, smiled encouragingly at them. He was a seasoned explorer, his wizened face bearing the marks of countless adventures on this challenging planet. "This," he announced, his voice booming across the cavernous hall, "is where you'll experience Earth firsthand. No longer just data, no longer just stories, but a true, visceral encounter." The students, having spent weeks in the museum, poring over artifacts and learning from Zalen's lectures, were prepared for the challenges ahead. The arid wastelands were infamous for their harsh conditions, scorching sun, searing winds, and unforgiving terrain. The simulation, however, was designed to mirror the harsh realities of Earth, a planet far more dynamic and unpredictable than their tranquil home worlds. The air was thick with excitement, but there was also an underlying sense of trepidation. These students, accustomed to the comforts of their home planets, were stepping into the unknown. Earth, with its wild weather and unpredictable life forms, was a far cry from the controlled environments they were used to. "Don't worry," Zalen chuckled, sensing their anxieties. "The simulation is meticulously designed to mimic the conditions, but it won't actually harm you. It's all about testing your knowledge and your adaptability." His words did little to ease Zale's growing unease. A sleek, reptilian creature, Zale had always been fascinated by Earth's history, particularly its resilience in the face of adversity. He was drawn to the planet's raw beauty and the indomitable spirit of its inhabitants. But as he stood before the shimmering portal, a chilling feeling settled upon him. "Are you all right, Zale?" Zalen asked, his keen eyes catching the shift in Zale's posture. Zale hesitated, then spoke, his voice low and hesitant. "There's something off about the simulation. It feels different." He couldn't quite articulate what it was, but a sense of foreboding washed over him. He scanned the holographic landscape before him, the barren, rocky terrain, the swirling dust devils, the eerie silence broken only by the wind. Something felt wrong. Zalen, ever perceptive, sensed the unease in his student. "What do you mean, different?" "I don't know," Zale admitted, his reptilian scales shimmering with a sense of unease. "It's like the simulation is aware of us." He felt an uncanny sense of being watched, as if the simulation was an entity with its own agenda. The other students, oblivious to his feelings, were busy checking their equipment and discussing strategies for survival. Zalen, his face now serious, studied the holographic projections. "It's possible," he conceded, his voice turning serious, "that the simulation is more sophisticated than we initially thought. It's been designed to mimic a living, breathing ecosystem, a reflection of Earth's complexity." Zale nodded, but his unease persisted. He felt a palpable tension in the air, a sense of anticipation that went beyond the usual anxiety of the simulation. It was a strange feeling, a premonition of something unexpected, something that would test their limits in ways they couldn't even begin to imagine. The anticipation was palpable, almost tangible, and Zale couldn't shake the feeling that this simulation wasn't merely a test. It was something more, something with an agenda of its own. He knew, instinctively, that this simulated experience was about to reveal something far more sinister than they could ever have anticipated. The air shimmered, distorting the landscape as the students, clad in biosuits, stepped into the simulated arid wasteland. A harsh, sun-baked wind whipped through the landscape, stinging their eyes and carrying the scent of dust and decay. "Welcome to the arid wastelands, the final challenge," Zalen announced, his voice amplified through their comms. "Here, you'll face not only the elements, but the dangers that have shaped Earth's history." A low growl echoed through the desolate plains, drawing their attention to a cluster of skeletal trees where a pack of sim wolves, their fur the color of sand, stalked the fringes of their vision. "These are just the start," Zalen warned, his voice tinged with a slight note of unease. "Remember, Earth's environment can be unforgiving. Stay sharp and stay together." As the sun climbed higher, the temperature soared. They battled the heat, their suits struggling to maintain optimal temperatures. Suddenly, the earth rumbled beneath their feet, a tremor that sent a shiver down their spines. The ground cracked open, and plumes of molten rock erupted, spewing rivers of fire across the wasteland. "Volcanic activity," Zalen informed them calmly. "Earth is still a geologically active planet." They scrambled for higher ground, the air thick with sulfur and ash. Their trek continued, each step a struggle against the unforgiving elements. As they navigated a treacherous canyon, the wind picked up, whipping into a ferocious sandstorm that buffeted them mercilessly. They fought to keep their footing, blinded by the swirling sand and choked by the suffocating dust. "Sandstorms are a constant threat here," Zalen cautioned, his voice barely audible through the roar of the storm. Just as the storm began to abate, they found themselves facing another terrifying challenge. Out of the swirling sand emerged figures clad in tattered clothing, their faces twisted with a feral intensity. "Human survivors," Zalen informed them, his voice now laced with a genuine chill. "They've adapted to the harsh conditions, and they are not always hospitable to strangers." The simulated humans were armed with makeshift weapons, their eyes burning with hostility. One brandished a rusted machete, another a crude spear tipped with jagged shards of obsidian. The students, trained for the simulated wildlife, found themselves ill-prepared for the unsettling intelligence in the eyes of these simulated humans. They were not just programmed to react, they seemed to understand the threat, to feel the primal hunger for survival. "What's happening?" Ixa, always quick to analyze, stammered, fear edging into her voice. Zalen's silence confirmed her suspicions. Is this real?" Zalen's voice was a hushed rasp in their calms. "I don't know, Ixa. The simulation, it feels more real than it should." The simulated humans charged, their desperation palpable. They dodged the attacks, their training kicking in, but the air was thick with a sense of dread. These were not merely programmed responses, they were something closer to genuine, desperate beings fighting for a sliver of existence in a harsh world. They had been prepared for the dangers of the arid wastelands, but not for the eerie sense of realism that permeated the simulation. The heat, the dust, the predatory creatures, and even the simulated humans felt too real, too aware. They were not simply reacting to programmed instructions. They were responding to the very essence of survival, a visceral primal instinct that sent shivers down their spines. The arid wastelands were no longer a mere learning exercise. It was a chilling reminder of the fragility of life on Earth, a stark testament to the harsh realities that had shaped this Deathworld. And it was a reminder that even a simulation could feel all too real when it mirrored the raw, unfiltered truth of existence. The simulated desert stretched before them, an endless expanse of shimmering sand dunes beneath a burning sun. The air shimmered with heat, and the wind carried a gritty whisper that sent a shiver down their spines, even through their biosuits. They were in the arid wasteland simulation, a digital replica of one of Earth's harshest environments designed to test their knowledge and survival skills. They'd been warned about the dangers of this world, the unforgiving sun, the relentless storms, and the creatures that lurked within the shadows. But what they hadn't been prepared for was the unsettling reality of it all. The simulation, while undeniably artificial, felt too real, too alive. It felt as if the lines between the digital and the tangible were blurring, and the simulated dangers posed a chillingly palpable threat. "I still can't believe these simulations can feel so real," whispered Lorne, his voice a low hum in their shared communication channel. "It's like we're actually on Earth, even though we know we're not." His words echoed the anxieties swirling in the minds of every student. They were used to the sterile, predictable environments of their home planets, where danger was a controlled variable. But Earth, a Deathworld, was different. Earth was a planet of chaotic energy, unpredictable forces, and a dangerous, unpredictable life force. They had been trained for this. They had studied the ecosystems, the weather patterns, the native species. They knew what to expect. But nothing could have prepared them for the chilling authenticity of the simulated threats. The first challenge was a simulated sandstorm. It whipped at them with incredible force, spitting sand and dust into their faces, making it impossible to see. Their suits, despite their advanced technology, felt woefully inadequate against the unrelenting fury of the storm. "This is too realistic," gasped Rin, struggling to keep her balance. "It's almost like we're actually in a sandstorm." "Keep calm," Zalen's voice boomed through their comms. "Focus on the navigation system, and remember your training." They followed his instructions, their navigators guiding them through the blinding, swirling sand. But the simulation, as if aware of their anxieties, threw more challenges at them. Simulated creatures, based on Earth's wolves, materialized out of the sand, their eyes glowing with a predatory gleam. They stalked the students, their growls echoing eerily in the swirling sand. "I'm getting a strange reading," muttered Alara, her voice edged with tension. "There's something about the wolf simulations. It feels different." They pushed on, their initial apprehension giving way to a cold sense of dread. But the arid wastelands, as if sensing their mounting fear, unleashed its most terrifying challenge yet. Emerging from the sandstorm, they were confronted by a group of simulated human survivors, their ragged clothing and desperate expressions conveying an alarmingly real sense of fear and urgency. Their eyes were wild, their bodies gaunt, and their hands, clutching crude weapons, were shaking. "We need to talk," one of the survivors rasped, his voice hoarse and desperate. "We've been following these wolves. They've been hunting us. They're not like the simulations. They're more intelligent." A chill settled upon the students. These simulated humans, their desperation too genuine, their fear too raw, seemed almost sentient. It was as if the simulation had somehow gained a disturbing consciousness, twisting the digital landscape into a chillingly believable threat. The experience was more than a learning exercise. It was a harrowing test of their resilience, challenging their assumptions about Earth and its dangers. It forced them to confront the possibility that the Deathworld was not just a myth, but a chilling reality that permeated even the digital realm. The arid wasteland simulation was supposed to teach them about Earth's harsh realities, but it had revealed a new and unsettling truth. Earth was not just a planet of extreme environments, but a planet of dangerous awareness, a planet that could seep into the very fabric of their reality and challenge their most fundamental beliefs. They had entered the simulation with the hope of understanding Earth, but they were leaving with a chilling premonition that the planet, in its own way, was watching them, waiting. Zyle, ever the outlier, felt a prickle of unease that went beyond the simulated wind whipping through his biosuit. It wasn't just the unsettling realism of the arid wastelands, or the unnervingly intelligent survivors they'd encountered. It was the way the simulation seemed to be reacting to him, to his thoughts, his anxieties. He'd noticed it earlier, a subtle shift in the landscape as he'd pondered the true nature of the simulation. A stray rock had shifted on the horizon, a sand dune rippled in a pattern that seemed too deliberate, too aware. He'd dismissed it as a glitch, a quirk of the complex program, but the feeling persisted. He wasn't just observing the simulation, it was observing him. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the arid wastelands, the feeling intensified. They were navigating a treacherous canyon, a labyrinth of jagged rock formations that seemed to shift and twist in response to their every movement. The simulated sun beat down with an oppressive heat, the air thick with dust and a pervasive sense of foreboding. "We need to find shelter," whispered Ixo, his voice muffled by his biosuit. "This storm is getting worse." The wind howled like a banshee, whipping up a vortex of sand that blurred their vision. They were trapped in a narrow passage, the rocky walls looming above them. As they huddled together, seeking a semblance of safety, Zyle felt a cold wave of realization wash over him. This wasn't just a storm, it was a test. He looked around, focusing on the details of the simulated canyon, trying to break through the illusion. His gaze landed on a peculiar symbol etched into the rock face. It was a jagged glyph, almost abstract, yet strangely familiar. He'd seen it somewhere, but where? Suddenly, the symbol pulsed with an eerie light, radiating outwards, throwing the entire canyon into a chaotic dance of shadows. The wind intensified, the sand swirling violently around them, choking their vision. As they struggled to see, Zyle felt a surge of energy coursing through him, a raw power that both terrified and fascinated him. He stumbled back, catching his breath. "What was that?" he gasped, his voice strained. The others were equally bewildered, their faces contorted with a mix of fear and confusion. "It was a test," Zyle said, his voice trembling with a newfound clarity. "This simulation ... it quotes not just a learning exercise. It's an evaluation. We're being tested." His words sent a ripple of fear through the group. They had been so caught up in the simulated world that they hadn't considered the possibility that the arid wastelands were more than just a classroom exercise. The realization that they were being observed, judged, and possibly manipulated filled them with a chilling unease. "What do you mean?" Ixo asked, his voice laced with apprehension. "What are we being tested for?" Zyle wasn't sure. He could only sense the underlying purpose, a shadowy motivation that hovered just beyond his grasp. "I don't know," he admitted, his gaze locked on the pulsing symbol. "But it's connected to us, to our species, to our potential." He felt a cold prickle of dread, but also a strange sense of anticipation. He'd always felt different from the other alien students, his fascination with Earth bordering on obsession. This test, this evaluation, felt like a confirmation of that difference. As the sandstorm subsided, the canyon walls seemed to shift once more, revealing a passage ahead. The symbol on the rock face continued to pulsate, its eerie glow casting an unsettling light on their faces. "We need to move," said Ixo, his voice strained but resolute. "Whatever is happening, it's not going to wait for us." Zyle nodded, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something significant, a revelation that would change their understanding of Earth and their place in the universe. The arid wastelands, a simulated world designed for learning, had become a battlefield, a proving ground where their very existence was being tested. They were no longer just students, they were subjects, pawns in a game they barely understood. The simulated sun beat down on their biosuits, a relentless, searing heat that felt uncomfortably real. Despite the advanced technology surrounding them, the students couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The arid wastelands had been unsettling from the start, but this new level of realism was creeping into their very bones. Do you think the simulation is reacting to us?" whispered Ixa, her voice a strained rasp in the oppressive heat. It's like it's alive." Around them, the simulated sand dunes stretched out, an unending expanse of ochre and rust, whipped by a wind that felt almost tangible against their skin. Simulated wolves, their eyes glowing with a chilling, predatory hunger, slunk in the shadows, their presence more menacing than anything they'd encountered in the previous simulations. Even the simulated flora, the stunted, spiky cacti, seemed to writhe and twist with a sentience that was beyond the scope of any known technology. "It's just a test," said TL, attempting to sound confident, his voice echoing in the stillness. "We're the first alien species to undergo this level of simulation. It's probably just adapting to our presence." But even as TL spoke, a wave of disquiet settled over the group. The simulated wind seemed to pick up, swirling around them, carrying with it a whisper that felt more like a scream. It wasn't just the environment that was responding. It was the very fabric of the simulation itself. The students, each from different species, with their own unique sensory perceptions, were all experiencing the same unsettling shift. They pressed forward, their hearts pounding against their ribs, their biosuits a cold, metallic barrier against the growing sense of unease. Their guide, Zalen, remained stoic, his calm demeanor a beacon of reassurance in the midst of the growing unease. "It's a test," he repeated, his voice firm. "It's designed to push your limits, to test your adaptability, to see how you react under pressure." He held up his hand, a gesture that commanded their attention. "You are not alone. We will get through this." But even as Zalen spoke, the simulation was changing. The sandstorm intensified, whipping into a vortex of swirling dust and grit. The wind screamed, its voice a raw, primordial sound that echoed through the students' very being. The simulated landscape twisted and contorted, the dunes taking on a sinister, almost malevolent life of their own. Then, the sandstorm receded. In its wake, they saw a sight that chilled them to the core. A group of simulated human survivors, their faces etched with fear and desperation, stood before them. They were more real than anything they'd ever seen before, their ragged clothing and gaunt features a chillingly accurate depiction of human suffering. "Help us," the leader of the group rasped, his voice hoarse and strained. "The arid wastelands are killing us. We need your help." The students were stunned. This wasn't just a test. It was a story, a narrative unfolding before their eyes. It felt real. They felt the fear in the human survivors' eyes, the desperation in their pleas for help. The simulation was no longer an objective environment. It was a living, breathing world, one that was reacting to their thoughts and emotions. But there was something else, a chilling realization that struck them like a bolt of lightning. The simulation wasn't just reacting, it was manipulating them. It was testing them, evaluating their strengths and weaknesses, probing their very core. "This isn't just a simulation anymore," whispered T.O., his voice barely a breath. "This is something else entirely." Zalen, their guide, remained stoic. He seemed to be aware of the shift in the simulation, but offered no reassurance. Instead, he simply nodded, his expression grave. "There are things that Earth has kept hidden," he said, his voice a low rumble. "Things that we haven't been told about, and now they're starting to reveal themselves." The students looked at each other, their faces pale with fear, a silent understanding passing between them. The arid wastelands, they now realized, were not just a test. They were a tool, a carefully crafted illusion designed to gauge their species' potential. But something else was hiding beneath the surface, something sinister that hinted at a truth far more dangerous than the simulations they had been led to believe. The students were no longer just students. They were subjects, unwitting pawns in a game they barely understood. And Earth, the Deathworld they had been so eager to learn about, was no longer a distant curiosity, but a living, breathing entity with a dark secret it was determined to keep hidden. The simulated sun beat down on the students, baking the arid landscape and amplifying the tension that hung heavy in the air. Their biosuits hummed with the artificial heat, a stark reminder of the reality they were trying to escape. The arid wastelands, meant to be a learning experience, were becoming a crucible, testing not just their knowledge, but their very sanity. TL, usually so inquisitive and boisterous, moved with a hesitant grace, his large eyes wide with apprehension. He'd always been curious about Earth, drawn to its chaotic beauty and the promise of challenge. But now, the reality of the Deathworld, even in its simulated form, felt different. It felt alive. "The wolves, they're tracking us," whispered Vilar, her antennae twitching nervously. "I can feel it." The students had encountered the wolves on their first day in the simulation, monstrous creatures that seemed more feral, more intelligent than they should have been. Their predatory gaze lingered, a constant reminder of the unforgiving nature of this environment. "We need to stick together," said Zalen, his voice calm and steady. "They're testing us. They want us to react, to show our weaknesses." But Zalen's words did little to quell the rising fear. Even with his expertise and the advanced technology they were equipped with, the students couldn't shake the feeling that they were being observed, analyzed, manipulated. As they trudged through the endless stretches of sand and rock, the simulation seemed to respond to their every move. The wind shifted, picking up in intensity, whipping sand into their faces. The sky turned a sickly yellow, the sun disappearing behind a curtain of dust. "This wasn't part of the briefing," said a nervous Kayla, her voice tight with anxiety. "The sandstorm, it's intensifying." "They're pushing us," said Zyle, his voice calm but laced with a deep, unsettling awareness. "They're testing our limits, our will to survive." The students huddled together, their biosuits providing a semblance of protection against the relentless storm. The air was thick with dust, making it difficult to see, to breathe. They were blind, vulnerable, and utterly alone in this desolate, unforgiving world. As the storm raged, a shape emerged from the swirling sand. It was a figure clad in tattered clothing, his face obscured by a dust mask. His eyes, though, were clear, filled with a desperate hope that chilled the students to their core. "Help! We need water," the figure rasped, his voice hoarse from dehydration. "We've been lost for days." The students, initially hesitant, approached the figure cautiously. He looked more real than any simulation they'd encountered before, his desperation tangible, his fear palpable. He was a stark reminder of the harsh realities of Earth, the danger lurking beneath the surface of its beauty. This isn't a simulation," whispered TL, his voice barely audible above the howling wind. "This is real." Zalen, his face grim, shook his head. "No," he said, "it's a test. They want us to see the truth. They want us to understand Earth." But the students, shaken to their core, knew that the truth was far more chilling. Earth, the Deathworld, was not just a planet. It was a force, a consciousness that was watching them, testing them, and, perhaps, judging them. The arid wastelands were no longer a simulation. They were a crucible, a trial by fire, where Earth was testing the limits of their species' resilience. The students had come to learn about Earth, but Earth, it seemed, was learning about them. The sandstorm raged, a swirling vortex of grit and fury that threatened to engulf them. The students, their biosuits straining against the onslaught, huddled together, their faces contorted in a mixture of fear and awe. This was no mere simulation. This was something more, something primal and alive. It was then that Professor Zalen, his voice a calm counterpoint to the chaos, addressed them. "We need to find shelter," he instructed, his voice amplified by the biosuit's communication system. "The storm is more than just a weather event. It's an active force, a part of this world's intelligence." His words sparked a wave of unease amongst the students. They had suspected as much. The environment, the very fabric of this simulated Deathworld, seemed to react to their thoughts, their anxieties. It was as if the simulation had a mind of its own. "Professor, what are you talking about?" a student named QRL questioned, his voice laced with apprehension. "Earth isn't conscious." "It is," Zalen replied, his voice firm. "Not in the way you understand. It's a primal consciousness, a vast and ancient network of interconnected life, a tapestry of plant and animal life, and yes, even rock and soil. Earth is a living organism, a planetary entity that reacts to its surroundings." Their eyes widened, taking in the unsettling revelation. They had studied the history of Earth, its tumultuous past, its evolution and extinction events. They had seen the evidence of humanity's rise and fall, their capacity for both destruction and resilience. Now, Zalen was telling them that Earth was not just a passive environment, but a force, a being that actively shaped the destinies of all its inhabitants. "But why?" another student, a slender, blue-skinned being named Karen, asked. "Why would Earth put us through this simulation?" Zalen took a deep breath, his eyes gleaming with a distant knowledge. "For centuries, Earth has been watching us, you, the other civilizations. We have come to Earth for knowledge, for resources, for conquest. But in doing so, we have unwittingly become subjects in a grand experiment." His words hung in the air, heavy with significance. They were not just students, they were subjects, pawns in a game of cosmic proportions. "It's not about learning about us," Zalen continued, his gaze piercing the storm. "It's about judging us, judging our species, our capacity for empathy, for wisdom, for compassion. Earth, in its ancient, primal wisdom, wants to know if we are worthy of sharing this world, or if we are destined to be another extinct species." The revelation sent a shiver down their spines. They were not merely observers, they were being observed. Their every thought, every action, was being analyzed, assessed, weighed. "But why?" QRL asked, his voice trembling. "Why us?" "Earth has chosen to focus on our civilization," Zalen explained. "We are the most recent species to emerge from the ranks of countless others, the most promising yet the most volatile. We are the ones who hold the key to Earth's future." He looked at them, his eyes filled with a mixture of apprehension and hope. "This simulation is not just a test of your knowledge, your courage, your resilience. It is a test of your humanity. It is a test of your capacity to evolve, to learn from your mistakes, to forge a path towards a future where both Earth and your species can thrive." The storm raged, a symphony of wind and sand, a testament to the raw power of this living world. And as they huddled together, seeking shelter from the storm, the students realized that their journey to Earth had just begun. It was not just a study of a Deathworld, it was a test of their very being. They were no longer mere students, but potential inheritors of a world they had only just begun to understand. Their future, their very existence, hung in the balance, a fragile thread woven into the grand tapestry of Earth's existence.